Hello, everyone, and check. So, am mic on?
Your mic's on and we're live.
All right.
Will you believe that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what it was. It kind of threw me off because my headset was down
Right.
and I couldn't hear me. So, yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Welcome to the Paranormal and ITC Podcast, or ITC and Paranormal Podcast. We'll have to, copyright both of those or trademark both of those, right? Just in
Right.
case. Just in
Something.
case I keep screwing this up. Hey, Don. Hey, Joe. How are you? Thanks for joining us. So, you know what? We were going to have one of two different types of shows for you this evening. And in continuing with our Ghost Box Legends series that we're doing on the show, one of our special guests tonight couldn't make it at the last minute, but that's okay. We're going to really peer pressure him to show up on the next few podcasts whenever he can make it. So we're going to actually fall back on another topic that Rob and I have been talking about. We've actually been kicking this around for a long time. And Rob, I don't know if you want to say anything before I just start rambling. You know how things go when I start talking.
No, just go for it.
Okay. So one of the things that Rob and I have been talking about, and especially with our colleagues, and specifically relating to ghost box sessions, ghost box research, radio-based ITC, even EVP, all audio-based ITC, is we're so quick to look for new equipment. We're so quick to assume we know what's going on that Rob and I, being in the audio engineering field, both in different ways, but we both have audio engineering experience, we don't see a lot of best practices going on in terms of recording and capturing the phenomena using the proper equipment. And even if you're on a budget, using the best practices for that equipment. And so I think we wanted to talk about today and really address what Rob and I do and learn from you. What are some of your best practices? Because as long as Rob and I have been doing this, there may be things we don't know. And so we just want to kind of kick around those ideas, specifically with, again, ghost box sessions, ghost box research. Did I summarize that okay?
No, that was perfect.
Well,
so basically, to sum it up, is trying to capture your sessions, things like that. Recording your sessions.
Hey, Stephanie.
It's just things like that. I mean, honestly, these days you don't even need a recorder. Basically, if you have a cell phone, grab your cell phone, pull it out, recorders, just grab either an audio app, a recording app, or even just start shooting a video. Just because you'd be surprised on the playback on what you would actually pick up and some of the things that you do miss during because you can only monitor so much and you only hear so much during the live session. Now, when you go back and you listen to your sessions, you're like, wait a minute, that was never said during the, when I heard it, when I was listening to it, I never heard that response. And you'd be surprised on what you do pick up. It's pretty crazy.
And that's right. And you know what? We always say you don't need a large budget to get started or to start the research. But as long as you're employing best practices, or you know your equipment and you know the limitations, you know where it excels the best. So if you are using a microphone on your phone, you'll know that when you get an app, what sampling rate or bit depth to put it in to make sure you're covering as much of the 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz human hearing range as possible. So again, you don't need to invest in thousands of dollars of recording equipment or anything like that. You just really need to know your equipment, what you're using. And the more you practice with it, you'd be surprised, like Rob said, what you could capture. There are a few, Rob, and I don't know if we want to start here, but there are a few things I've noticed that I think maybe because we do all have phones now that can record uncompressed audio in some format. I'm still seeing, Rob, I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of people using the popular low sample rate, low bit depth recorders of the early 2000s, which do seem to capture EVP in LP mode, 8 kilohertz, 6 kilohertz. But at the same time, they're leaving it in that setting to record or attempt to record a clear ghost box session. And that's one area where I'd like to see record in a different format, essentially, or maybe a different recorder, even your phone, because in that case, we're really looking for clarity and phonetical accuracy. Have you noticed that at all, Rob?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I have. I
Hey, Don.
and like when you're setting up a and God, this is like I mean, this topic can go pretty crazy. So the
Yeah,
basic setting, for setting up a recorder is 44.1 kilohertz.
right.
Um, that's basically the basic sample rate of what a typical program is going to use. Um, Me personally, I try to bump it up just a little bit to 44 or 48 kilohertz.
Right.
Um, Anything past that, I think, unless you're the best format to record at, also, you never want to record it in MP3 format.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
and that's the unfortunate thing because most budget recorders will only record MP3. Now, MP3 is compressed audio.
Correct.
Um, Now, during that compression, you're going to lose a lot of the voices that you would be looking for and trying to pick up. Um, and basically, what it's doing is it's like MP3. It's taking a file and basically crunching it down, or just like scrunching it down. So it's taking some of those frequencies and compressing them down to make it to make it um to compress the file to make it a smaller file size. And so if you leave it in wave format, that's basically raw format in a
Correct.
recording format.
Correct. And when we talk about Rob, that was excellent. And to footnote that, when we talk about sample rates, when we talk about recording at 44.1 kilohertz, when we divide that in half, we realize that we're actually able to cover the human hearing range, because 44.1 roughly divided by 2 is 21, 22 kilohertz, somewhere in there, which is just above the top level of our human hearing. When you step it up to 48 kilohertz, you realize that we're covering up to 24 kilohertz. And the farther you go up the sample rate, you realize we can only really hear up to 20 kilohertz. If you're doing this for research purposes and you're looking to research higher frequencies and pitch them down, drop them down an octave to find out maybe what's way up there in the higher frequency range, then you might want to record at 96 kilohertz, 192 kilohertz, and
Yes.
it goes up from there. Then you get into esoteric sampling rates that research laboratories are using. You're leaving the consumer level and you're going into the scientific realm at that point.
And you're going into most professional recordings are high definition recordings. What they call HD radio or HD recordings are sampling at 24-bit or 122 kilohertz. Me working,
Hey, Raymond.
in the music industry, um, for us, it's overkill because we're kind of going into the stream sector. So basically, in the stream sector, when you're listening to Spotify, not so much Sirius XM. Sirius XM still uses low sample rates.
Oh, really?
Uh,
I didn't know that.
yeah, they're only they're streaming. Well, it's really not. It's at 192 kilohertz, which is still it's still not CD quality. Like Sirius XM or Spotify has a couple of different formats. They'll stream. Their high level is 384. Their mid
Right.
is 190 or um
192?
no, it's not 192. I'm trying to think. 96 kilohertz,
Oh, okay.
and then 48 kilohertz. So that's a low range. Or no, 128. 128's the low, and then it goes. What is it? No,
Hey,
it's
man.
90. It's 92, 128, and 384. Those are the sample rates that they stream at. So, yeah. Anyway, Pandora still does low audio. I mean, they're still streaming at 96 kilohertz.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's,
Anyway.
well, and when you consider the sample rate, when we say 96 kilohertz, it's sampling at one point in time. It's essentially sampling the sound 96,000 times. 96,000 times. So you can see the higher the sample rate you use, the higher accuracy you'll be able to capture the sound. And again, that's ADD conversion. It's taking an analog wave and transferring that into the digital realm, zeros and ones. So we want to sample that analog wave when we turn it into zeros and ones as many times as possible. So when we're doing the ghost box research, we really want to record an uncompressed audio. Even from your cell phone, you can do this in either 44.1 or 48 kilohertz, which is generally a standard. Maybe there's 96 kilohertz depending on the app, depending on the phone, and preamps and ADD conversion. I don't know what phone you have, but essentially, definitely if you can, use uncompressed audio. And even with your phone and placement, with the mics that are in these types of phones, you don't have to place the phone that far away from the box. And again, I don't know what type of ghost box you're going to use. They have different outputs, they have different frequencies. There's a whole list of variables where I can't really say do exactly this because it depends on your situation. But just be aware at least to record an uncompressed audio if possible.
Yeah, and I mean, right now I'm looking on my phone, on my iPhone to see. I know I'm trying to see what voice memo. Yeah, it's basic. It's you can't even change it. So
Right.
they're using the basic voice memo. That's recording at 44.1 kilohertz. So whenever you can't change it, that's going to be the base level. Unless you have an app, there are some apps out there that you can change the sample rate. I would try to stay. I mean, that's fine. 44.1 is fine. That's standard. But if you can change it to wave format, never, ever, ever. If you can't, I mean, I know it's not always possible to do that, but whenever possible, always save them in wave format.
Right. And they do take up more space. And I think that would be the only reason to go to a compressed format where it cuts the frequencies, the amplitude, to save space. I can't really think of any other reason why you would do that, especially when we're talking about clinical research or critical research, just where we need all of the clarity we can get. We need as little noise as possible from our preamps. We need the best conversion possible. We really want to hear everything that's going on. But you'd be surprised. Our phones can do it as long
Yeah.
as you set them up properly and you place them a certain distance away from the ghost box. Again, depending on the ghost box or the speaker or the amplifier, or whatever you're using. And you can really get good, clean sound. And this all goes back to what we preach every podcast: replay, replay, replay.
Yeah.
That's where the research is. That's where the knowledge is coming from. Live sessions are great, but that's just a small fraction of what we're doing. So it's not only how to capture the sound, but it's listen back to it once you've captured it. That's why we're going to all this effort to record uncompressed audio. Use best
Exactly.
practices for mic placement because we're going to listen back.
Now, here's the biggest mistake that people make. They will try to capture the best audio possible, and then they go back and listen to that audio with noise canceling headphones. That's the biggest mistake.
Are we going to talk about that tonight?
Well, I mean, we're already there.
Okay. Because
I
yeah,
mean,
that is oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with this topic because there are so many problems with using noise canceling headphones when listening to critical, or I like to call it clinical research. ITC, listen, this is research. You know, if you're in this for the entertainment, use whatever you want. I mean, it just doesn't matter. But if you're actually doing this as a passion because you want to do the research, we really have to look at, I don't know how else to say it, Rob, not using noise canceling headphones. Different headphones will cancel out frequencies that not only that we need to hear, but that will also trick your ear, psychoacoustics. The perception of the audio will change and different frequencies will be accentuated, some will be attenuated, and you won't really get the true picture of the original waveform. You just won't. They're strictly used for entertainment, in my opinion. In my opinion, they should only be used for entertainment purposes, music purposes, recreational purposes.
Yep. So basically, because when you're listening to noise canceling headphones, that's what it's doing. It's taking those low frequency, what it might think it might be like static or just noise coming through the speaker. It's going to cut those out. So certain frequencies, they're designed to cut out certain frequencies. So in our research, whether it's listening to EVP, whether it's listening to any type of recordings that we're doing, what we're doing is we are listening. That's why we're monitoring that. We're trying to find those frequencies that are normally not heard with the human ear. So what that's doing, what noise canceling headphones are doing, is they're cutting out those frequencies that we're looking for. And that's like one of the biggest mistakes that people make. That's like the most common mistake people do when they're going back to listening to audio.
And again, Rob and I are just running through variables when it comes to recording. I mean, we could, this is something that I can see will carry on through our podcast. We'll be talking about it. It's not really anything that's ever a closed discussion. Once we finish this podcast, it's over. But essentially what we want to do is just help people realize there are certain things that we all do that I had to learn through trial and error, where I realized, just by picking the wrong headphones to plug in to listen back to something, if they don't have the proper output impedance or input impedance, that can actually change the frequencies of what you're hearing. I mean, just mismatching impedances can actually cause frequencies to fluctuate when you're listening back in the headphones, and then you won't hear the original waveform. How are you supposed to know that? I mean, Rob and I learned that from being audio engineers and through trial and error and just through doing what we've been doing for so long. But it's just one of those things that people don't realize. And I didn't know it for a period of time until I learned it in my profession, in my career, and researching ITC, is that you do want to use the proper headphones. Make sure the impedance loads are proper. Make sure that if you're using a preamp or a recorder or microphone of some kind, that it has a good dynamic range to it, so that you have a good high signal to noise ratio. You're hearing the signal really well and the noise is really low, because we don't want extra noise in our recordings. So there are a lot of things that we're going to be talking about tonight and going forward again in our podcasts. And we'll hopefully explain these things, and you'll take from us what you want. And then maybe there's certain things you go, no, I've tried that. I don't like that. It doesn't work for me. Again, we're not experts. We're just sharing with you what we've learned and what experiences we have.
No, exactly. So I know that somebody asked about what type of headphones to use.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to use like any type of studio large diaphragm headphones.
I would.
AKG, they do have some closed back over the ear studio headphones.
Yeah.
Those are pretty popular, but the most popular, I think, are the Sony studio headphones. I know that they're a little pricey, but like they just had, Amazon, what is it called? What's it called?
Prime Day or something? Yeah, Amazon Prime Day.
Prime
yeah.
Day. Mm-hmm. I know that they have those. You can find like right around Black Friday, right around whenever somebody has specials or sales. You can find those headphones for about $45.
Prime Day. Stephanie, thank you, Stephanie. We're such idiots. It's Prime Day.
Yeah, I know. Whatever.
God, we're idiot savants. Like, we're really smart at certain things and other things just can't figure out.
But yeah, the any of the studio monitors, but the Sony headphones are so popular.
Yeah.
I've had a few.
They're good. Flat response. They're well, at that price range, they're pretty flat. Rob, I was going to say, I just recommended to one of our friends and colleagues, Katie Holte. There's a pair of Tascam headphones that usually go for $60, $70 for $29 right now. And they're on Tascam's website, and they're decent. They're good headphones, good flat response. Tascam's been in the game for a really long time. They have a lot of experience. and it's a closed back headphone. Rob's using open back headphones. Oh, Rob's talking and we can't hear him. This is great. This is my dream come true. Oh, I hope you guys can hear me and can't hear Rob. This is fantastic. Anyway, look up the Tascam headphones. They're about $29. Those are a great headphone. And they're closed back, so they'll keep out all the sound of the room of anyone in there. Let's see. I just typed to Rob that I couldn't hear him. Can you guys hear me at all? Oh, this is great. You guys can hear me, not Rob. Oh, thank God. Okay. It's my show, you guys. This whole show was my idea to begin with. I texted Rob one day, and this whole thing is mine. So he's just riding my coattails to success. Okay. Carl, what is the question for Rob? What is the best box you've created? I'm going to answer that, Carl. And I happen to think it's Rob's newest box. It's the RTC2. It's okay, Rob. You're fine. Don't even worry about it. It's the RTC2. It uses it's a detuned FM tuner, and it runs with the T. Check. Check. I don't know, Rob. We both cut out. Technical issues, correct. I don't know if you guys can hear anyone. Yeah, they're definitely messing with our equipment. Someone's definitely messing with it. Okay, Carl hears me. So I came back online randomly. Okay, I hear. Okay, thank you guys. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. Thanks for staying on the chat with us or the podcast. I don't know what's going on. It's odd because Rob's driving the ship, but yet you guys can hear me. We can't hear Rob. Okay. Well, guys, Rob can't hear us. So round of applause because he's dealing with a lot and he's driving the ship. Thank you, Rob, if you can hear me. Thanks for all that you do for the podcast. Anyway, Carl, one of Rob's best boxes that I think, again, is his newest box is RTC2. He uses a detuned FM tuner, the Texas T555 timer chip, and through a series of magic potions has found out a way to not draw in static while it's in between its waveform, its pulse generation, meaning when the duty cycle is on, you hear the radio. When the duty cycle is off or there's no voltage, you don't hear anything. So it's a really unique setup. It's all digital. In my opinion, I think that's his best box. And it includes a scanning sweep or a sweep adjustment. And it also includes the duty cycle adjustment, which is probably my favorite variable of Rob's boxes in particular. And some of them he uses reverb, which are a lot of people like those as well. I prefer the duty cycle adjustment if I had to pick two variables for the box. Is that the copper colored one? Yes, that detuned FM chip is in the copper one. I don't believe there's the duty cycle adjustment on those in particular. Those still include the Texas Instruments T555 timer, but again, those are set up with reverb, not the duty cycle adjustment. Katie, I like how builders have different methods. Yeah, Katie, exactly. Right. And that's just it is. And I know Steve works a lot with analog. You work a lot with digital. Rob's built a digital box, and there are different ways to do it. And they each have their own pros and cons, their own advantages and disadvantages. I don't want to say disadvantages, but things you need to be more aware of when you're using a certain box, whether it is of the analog nature or it's in the digital realm. Yeah, Stephanie, the RTC2, the RTC2. So if you go to Rob and say, Rob, build me a box, he'll say, I can pretty much build you what you want. You say, I want the RTC2. And that is the most current box. That is the box, and that is the tuner and the chip that he uses on his Saturday show. That is the box that is used on the Saturday show. Now, that is run in reverse on the Saturday show, but that is the inherent essential design. And I'm in terms of Rob's creations, I'm most impressed with the Saturday show sound and the box that I have from Rob. Live parent, yes, I have that one. Very nice ghost box. I have a couple again, and it just depends on what you bring that night. Yeah, exactly. There's so many toys. I don't want to say toys, but research equipment that you can use. But yeah, it's a very clean sound, and especially for an all digital box, it's, in my opinion, it's one of my favorites, and I think it's one of the best in terms of all digital custom boxes that's out there. Hey guys, glad to be here. I have missed the last couple shows live. Ben, but did watch the vids and I'm caught up. Okay, at least you're caught up. Okay, at least you're caught up. No, thank you for joining us, Ben. I appreciate it. Oh, Steve Holte's here. Thank you. Here's stuff from Jensen's. So Steve says he's working with the Flintstone crap downstairs, which is, I guess he's referring to analog. And Katie is using is in the more digital realm, referring to the Jetsons. That's an excellent analogy, Steve. And again, Steve and Katie Holte, guys, if you're looking for an amazing box, please contact them. Steve's got analog covered. Katie's got digital covered. I mean, it's all you need. Sorry, Rob. But yeah, just go see Steve and Katie. Sorry, Rob. My new favorite too, Purple Dahlia. Rob is awfully quiet tonight. You know what, Dave? Rob's not quiet. His mic cut out, I think. I believe his mic cut out. For some reason, he can't get sound. And as the universe would have it, they're having me lead the show tonight. So that's just what you get. I'm sorry. Got me some buddies here. Yeah, Ben, we're all here. We're all talking. Yep. Katie and Steve are here. And I was talking with Steve Holte about this recently, and Steve actually has a really nice Edirol recorder, and it records uncompressed wave format. That recorder is a few $100s. It's expensive, and I know that's not in everyone's budget. So again, when we say use your phone, I know Rob's a big proponent of not using it on investigations because of the RF interference and the cellular interference that can interrupt your investigation. At the same time, it is a really good clutch recording device, especially because the microphones are decent. They record somewhat flat frequency response. They're not great, but if you think about what a phone is designed for, it's designed for picking up the human voice, right? So if there are frequencies that are accentuated, and I haven't tested cell phones, it's just not my interest, but I would imagine we would see some type of boost in the vocal frequency range, whether it could be from 1 kilohertz to 10 kilohertz. So phones inherently are already designed to capture human voice or human speech. So really, they're not bad recorders in a pinch to use when you're recording your ghost box sessions. Again, recording in uncompressed wave format. Live Paranormal, all good. Background noise. Oh, okay, so Joe's saying there's some background noise before we cut off. Okay. Steve says, hey, Ben. Wow, okay. So I want to know. Oh, there's some great comments. All right, I'll read those later because I'm the only one on the show. But I want to know if you guys want to leave in the comments what you use to record your ghost box sessions. What exactly are your best practices? What have you found that might help someone else? Probably help me, because again, as long as I've been doing this, I probably get in a rut or a routine. And it's possible that my best practices are outdated. Maybe something has come along that I'm not aware of. I don't know. I'm stuck in a studio most of the time with the same people working on the same thing. So as much as I'm exposed to this in my field as an audio engineer, it still doesn't mean I've been exposed to what everyone else is doing. And so I'm on here to share with you my experiences. And if you guys have any type of experience with recording with a certain device, or if you found something works for you or doesn't work for you, let me know. Your show now. Yeah, it was always supposed to be my show. Again, I texted Rob. I'm like, I finally have time to do this podcast. Rob drives the ship. He's the captain for sure. He's the captain. But you know, it's nice. It's nice to have a show once in a while. And he does so many others on this channel. So it's nice to be. Rob got mad and left. I think if Rob is mad at me for picking on him, I think he would have cut the feed. You know what I mean? I hope I didn't hurt his feelings. Rob, I love you. I'm joking. This is all a joke. I think Ed kidnapped Rob. It's possible. It's very possible. I know that Rob was hooking up and working with new mixers and a new setup for the streaming he's doing for Live Paranormal. So it's possible with all the variables involved in the studio that maybe something went wrong somewhere. I don't know. I got you, Josh. Okay, so Ben says, I'm looking for one. I saw a Zoom recorder for the first time this past weekend. I was told the second build is the best. I believe if you're talking about Zoom, you're talking about the H2 or the H2N. And I believe that's the fat, short one. It does mid-side recording. It is an excellent solution for the budget. It really is. And for that price range, it is feature packed. That is one of the positives about that recorder. Especially it can do mid-side recording. You can record a whole room truly in a 360-degree field if you can represent that again in your DAW, your digital audio workstation, however you're going to review the material. But I will say this, and I've been working with recorders, ADD converters, preamps almost my whole life. Be careful with Zoom. Zoom employs some of the noisiest preamps that I think most recorders or equipment in that price range offers. I usually try and steer people towards Tascam. Their preamps are a little quieter. Now, I know the Zooms have more features. I know you can do a lot more with them. So again, you have to figure out what's most important to you. I can't sit here and say, use this, don't use this. But just be aware, Zooms generally have more noise in their preamps. They're a little noisy, not as quiet. The Tascams are a little bit quieter. And what I mean by that is when you put on your headphones and you hook up microphones and you're quiet in a room, you can hear that ambient noise coming through the headphones. That's basically the noise I'm talking about from the preamps. So just be careful with the Zooms. They're, again, feature packed. Tascams are great as well. But you're going to get evidence with either. There's no question. So don't, either is going to work for you. You're going to come home from your investigation or your research. You're going to get evidence on both, on any recorder you use. Just be careful. If you like a quieter recorder, maybe steer away from the Zooms. Just my experience.
Exactly.
Hey, you're back. Rob, I thought about it. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to have to go 2 hours by myself? I was like, I'm so glad you're back. I enjoy driving the ship for 5 minutes, but it's so good to have the captain back. Like I'm the co-pilot, and I was like flying the plane. I'm like, I got this. And after 5 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have this. And so you're back. This is great.
I've never seen that happen before.
I haven't either.
No, Windows basically my sound in Windows crashed.
Really?
I couldn't even get control panel to come up. First because I run voice meter for my audio. And then I was trying to go into Windows control panel to switch over. I was just going to switch over the driver. Just go to just to change it up, and then it freaking wouldn't even let me do that. So I had to literally shut down, and then my computer wouldn't shut down, so I had to just power cycle it.
And you kept me going, which was interesting. I don't know how your system does that. Like you basically, the audience could hear me, and it just kept me going.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we have a backup plan. Steve could have called in. Oh, if Steve would have called in, that would have been easy 2 hours with everything he's working on. But like 5 minutes, it's good. A little monologue.
Yeah, no, I've never, dude.
That was weird.
Of all my years even being in IT, I have never seen Windows audio crash. Never.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, hmm, that is weird. Well, and people, I think, were alluding to Ed, the the spirit that's at your house. I mean, we laugh and we kid, but it certainly seems like every time we go live recently in the last few weeks, something is sabotaged right at 8 o'clock or 7:59.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, and Joe said you had noise going on while that happened. I was hearing feedback too, like a feedback loop. I was
Really?
faintly hearing you. Yeah, very strange. I mean, almost things I couldn't diagnose as long as I've been doing this. I don't even know how that would happen. I don't know.
No, it was strange. But anyway,
Hope I did not bring the spirit fleas. Does everyone have an Ed spirit? Apparently, Katie.
everybody that uses my boxes do. And it's crazy. Um,
Yes, Ben. Just to answer your question.
Videos
Sorry,
that
Rob.
went through on my box that I sold them, and they never used to get that before.
Really? So Ed is pretty common then, Katie. I mean, I get Ed through your boxes, Rob. Ben, to answer your question,
My audio's gone again.
it is okay. I think they can still hear me. I'm just going to keep talking until someone says they can't hear me. Ben, I don't want to steer you away from Zoom because the H2N has some amazing features that other recorders can't do. But if you're looking into the Tascam, yes, live listening is also known as monitoring. When you monitor your sound, you're listening to it as it's being recorded. So as soon as you press the record button, you'll hear, like your headphones, the sound come on, and you'll hear everything in the room live. Everything your mics are hearing in real time, you're going to hear in real time monitoring. So yes, the Tascam will do that, and the Zoom will do that. They both do that. So I don't know if it's possible, Ben, if you can, one of your friends has a Tascam, maybe someone has a Zoom, maybe you can play with them for a little bit and see which one you like better, because they're both very good units. I just know the Zoom's a little noisier. The Tascam is a little quieter, but it doesn't have the features the Zooms usually have. So you just kind of have to weigh everything out.
Yeah, the Zoom.
Thank you guys for letting us know you can hear us.
Yeah, the Zoom.
So sorry.
The new Zooms. They're not very good.
I want to like them because the features are great.
Yeah, but I use the Pod Track, the 4, and then I use a Pod Track 8, the mixer version. It's just terrible. The preamps on them aren't good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the signal boost, the signal ratio is just terrible.
Well, and there's in the mic preamps, from what I remember when I saw testing on them, there's a lot of harmonic distortion. There's a lot of noise. So already when you turn on the recorder, even with a low gain setting, you're hearing a
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of hear this constant low. It almost sounds like an air conditioning is running far in the background. What that is, it's noise from the preamps. It's noise from the preamps. Sometimes, well, it's mainly noise from your preamps, even at a low gain. So that I've just noticed the Tascams in terms of handheld recordings seem to employ better microphone preamplifiers. They're a little bit quieter. But at the same time, again, the Zoom has the features. So you just have to figure out what's going to work for you in your situation. Some people have both. I mean, it just depends on what your budget is.
The H1 is actually not a bad Zoom recorder.
I like, you know what? I will make an exception for the H1. You can do a lot with that.
The H1 and the H4s, they're both good.
I just found the H2 very noisy. And you know what it is, Rob? I think it's because it employs mid-side recording and it's trying to pack in so much in that one unit. I think it's stretching I just don't know that the circuitry was built to withstand 4-track recording the way that is set up. Like in theory, it sounds great, but it just doesn't have the dynamic range and the microphone preamplifiers.
Yeah. Now, Ben, like with what you're saying about, the Zoom 6 sounds good. But there's just a lot of noise. The preamps are just not very good. When you hook up if you ever hook up headphones to your recorder so you can monitor that, I mean, you'll hear the hiss in your
Right.
headphones.
Right.
And that's noise from the preamps.
Right.
And you shouldn't hear that anyway with with any recorder. Um, we're just talking about this today, because I'm using I've went through so many soundboards.
Yes, you have.
How many soundboards have I tested over the last 6 months? I probably tested every single soundboard for podcasting
Yeah.
and for mixing. And I'm not talking about, low end mixers either. I mean, these are anywhere from $800 down. Um, so I tried the new Zooms. I tried the Rodecaster was my go-to for a while, but it's just very limited on what it can do. That's why I ended up selling it and went for, something a little bit more in the audio realm. So, um, and now I'm just having issues with this stupid, my software now.
I don't know if it's your equipment anymore, more Rob. That's the first thing I would say is your equipment, but something else is messing with you. I don't know. It's just
I don't know. It might just be. I don't know if it's the mixer or if it's the driver because I didn't have this issue on the Mac,
right.
only on the PC side. So, yeah, I don't know.
Uh, sorry, go ahead.
No, but yeah, so the best way to test preamps is hook up any type of mics to that. Get it to the levels that you're gonna think is gonna sound good for recording. Plug in some headphones and then listen. You'll find like some of the gain that you have to adjust to. Now the recording, it sounds decent. It sounds good
Right.
enough for a podcast.
Tonally, yes. Yeah, tonally it does.
But for what most people do, it might be good enough. But when see, and and we're all coming back to the reason why we're doing this. I mean, we're trying to listen to certain frequencies when we're trying to capture communication or spirit communication.
Right.
So we have to look. I mean, you have to be careful on what we're listening for.
That's right.
And this is a very touch. I know it's a very touchy subject because everybody has their favorite equipment. Um, but
Right. Right. And I don't, that's why I'm saying I don't, you can use anything and collect evidence. It's been proven. I mean, for for decades we've used all kinds of recorders, all types of ghost boxes, and we're all getting evidence. So again, Ben, you'll have success no matter what you use, because I believe you'll find that success, you'll find that communication and that evidence. But just from a very objective point of view, is there's pros and cons to everything. And so that's why I sometimes steer people away from Zooms if they're doing very critical ITC and EVP collection and research. But at the same time, use it. You'll get evidence. It's a very nitpicky detail. I'm just kind of giving a review, but at the same time, it'll work. I mean, it's been proven to work. They've been used, what, thousands of times probably, Rob. I can't even imagine the Zoom recorders. And
yeah, I
they collect
mean,
evidence, yeah.
but the funny thing is I still, um, if I use a digital recorder, I always go back to an Olympus, the Olympus
Oh,
4100p, or
those are uncompressed though. Well, I think even in super high quality, it's only MP3,
well,
like
there's
one
still,
MP.
yeah, there's still MP3
Right,
format,
right.
but the responses that I have gotten have
Oh,
been
right, right.
amazing.
Sure.
But I mean, if so, it's going to be between that or my old analog recorder, which I still have and I
Right,
still will use once in a while.
right. If you, I can make a recommendation, and you can find used recorders on eBay that used to cost hundreds of dollars, now dirt cheap because people just want to get rid of them. Everyone's using their phone. No one wants them anymore. I'd have to say, if you want the quietest preamps on the market, that meaning the ultra quietest recording so you can hear the faintest EVPs and really hear your evidence, I'd look at Olympus or Sony. You guys, Sony has some really great sleeper recorders that record in high res, and their preamps are, for a handheld, dead quiet. Again, for a
Yeah.
handheld. And now they don't have the functionality. You can't hook up external mics. You can't do mid-side recording. You're stuck with basically the built-in microphones. But at the same time, oh my gosh, their signal path, their decoupling of their circuit boards, of the power of the preamps, of the ADD conversion, they're just so quiet. There's no crosstalk. There's no interference. They're just fabulous recorders. So Olympus and Sony are really good in terms of the preamps. If you're looking for features, really a boatload of features, you're looking at Tascam or Zoom. So it just depends on where you want to go. There's no right or wrong. It's just what works for you and what you're researching, what you're doing.
There was a Sony, God, I forget the model number. I picked up a few of them, and I actually gave a few of them away.
Early or high res?
No, well, they were high res. They were probably manufactured about 5, 6 years ago.
ICD
Somewhere around
SX
there.
1000, SX 2000?
I think that's what it might have been. But they were like, oh my god, they were amazing recorders.
Right. Right. And they're in the same price range. And they're just, you're almost like, wow, am I really holding this in my hand? This is a powerhouse. Sounds that
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
And they were like, I mean, when I got them, I bought them. I got a deal on them. They were just closing them out for like $100, and I know that they were like 170 or something when I picked them up, or about that time. They were just closing them out, so I just picked up what they had. I think I bought like 4 of them, and I gave them away as gifts. And yeah, I knew somebody needed a recorder, and I said, "Here, just take this one." I always give stuff away. I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah. No, well, that's just part of who you are. You have a big heart. So that's why we all love you, man. Seriously, not being sarcastic.
No, I mean, somebody needed a recorder, and I was like, "Here, just take this one." And it was in my bag, and I said, "Here, just take it,"
That's really
because
cool.
I was still using my Olympus.
Right.
I didn't
Well,
even think about it. I'm
you
like,
can
"Damn, I
find,
gave the last one away."
oh, and it'll come back to you. Well, it has. It has. You have me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
No, what I was going to say too is you can find a really good used recorder on eBay, the Olympus LS7 that came out maybe 10 to 12 years ago. It's maybe $100, recorded in 24-bit, 96 kilohertz. It sat in the palm of your hand. Oh my gosh. It literally captured recordings, Rob, like the VN4100 PC or VN4100, but it did
Mhm.
it in uncompressed format. Whatever combination of ADD conversion and microphone preamps, mics. They took that magic from the 4100 and put it in the LS7, but in high resolution. And it's an incredible recorder. I love Olympus for EVP. I really do.
No, exactly.
They're low fidelity sampling rates and high fidelity sampling rates. Great recorders. Well, Ben says, what was that recently, Steve? Is the H4 a pretty recently released device? Gosh, the H4 has been around for 15 years. I mean, is 15 years too long? Because they've had the H4, the H4N. Man, that I think I saw that recorder being used in like late 2006, 2007. Am I wrong, Rob?
No, that's about, yeah. I had like 4 of them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so it's been around for a while. It really has.
Yeah, because I used to put them on a tripod, and I would use them as static recorders.
Right.
So I had a bunch of them in my bags. And then over the years, I just replaced them. I got different recorders, and I sold them on eBay and got basically what I paid for them.
And that's just it. The resale value on the Tascams and even the Zooms, they still hold their value in the used market because they're reliable, they're rugged, they're durable.
Those things are tanks.
Exactly. So, Ben, you can't go wrong with whatever you choose. Just learn to work with whatever you choose in terms of its pros and cons. And I think you'll get just as good as results. You don't have to buy the best of everything to get, as you know, good research or good communication. Let me see. Did we miss? Are you checking the comment section, Rob? Let's see. Need a box session, but that's not.
I just started looking.
Joe says he
my,
needs.
my audio switched back, so I had to switch it back on.
I think Joe, I'm just playing with you here, but I think Joe's being passive aggressive. He's saying, need a box session, but that's not on the show tonight. Is that passive aggressive?
I guess. No,
Like,
I'm not
could use
gonna
a
do it.
box session, but I know it's not on tonight, but really could use one. It's kind of passive.
Yeah.
I'm just playing, Joe. Zoom stomp boxes are great for effects. Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not trying to trash the Zoom brand. I'm just being objective on certain recorders and what I've noticed. Zoom stomp boxes are great for effects. And actually, I have several guitarists at a studio I work with that will sometimes bring out an all digital guitar effects pedal board, which, yeah, I like them sometimes, but the Zooms actually have the lowest latency and they have incredible effects and they're very durable. And I've actually liked a lot of the Zoom digital guitar pedal effects. And you're probably talking about the stomp boxes for your ghost box research. Yeah, very good point. Ben says, I do know some older equipment is better than new devices if they are taken care of at least. That is true. There are some devices that stand the test of time. I can tell you as technology has improved and time has gone on, we've been able to, recorders are now employing better A to D conversion, better clocking, quieter microphone preamps at a cheaper price because the market's becoming competitive. And so these, what used to be higher end products for audio engineers and review are now slowly, very slowly trickling down to the prosumer or consumer level. And we've seen that in some of Sony's high-end handheld recorders. We've seen that in Edirol. We've seen that in some of the Tascam units. But yes, there is some old equipment that will always stand the test of time. Live Paranormal said, okay, just heard voice of female. Joe says, I know I heard a lot of things. It's dead quiet where I'm at. I don't know what's going on over there at Rob's. Rob always has activity of the spirit kind, if you will.
Yeah, it's always crazy over here. No, I didn't hear anything. And plus I've been fighting my audio, so
There was a question earlier. I scrolled down and then the chat snapped back up, so I lost it. But Live Paranormal asked a question about white noise in the ghost box and why it's there, or static, if you will. There was the chat left the column scrolled up and I couldn't see the whole question. But they might be asking about static, maybe in your ghost box, Rob, or static in radio reception in general. Oh, there it is.
The funny thing is we were just talking about this. We were just talking about the original SB7.
Mm-hmm.
The original SB7 didn't have any static. Until because Chris Fleming was working with Gary on that, and that was like Chris and Gary were working on that together, and then Chris talked Gary into adding white noise into that, and then they revamped it, and now we have white noise, and now Gary's trying to take it back out.
Thanks, Chris. Listen, the PSP7 is a successful box. I don't care what people say about it. It works. It's a great box.
But here's the funny thing. Now it's coming full circle because now Gary's coming up with devices to remove that static, and the engineer or the electrical engineer and I were just talking about this. He was like, dude, this it's kind of funny now Gary has a device to remove that. And I said, right, why doesn't he just go back to the beta units that he had and just revamp those?
Well, and then, you know what, I don't want to pick on anyone. So in Chris's defense, I know I was picking on him, teasing him a little bit, but in Chris's defense, I think the research was so early on though as well that I think that, it was one of those things where everyone was kind of throwing a dart in the dark and hoping to hit something. Let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. So, I mean, listen, I wasn't there. I don't know the true intentions of it, but yes, I don't think the added noise. Say what you want about how much white noise you need for successful communication, but if the ITC operator is experiencing ear fatigue after 30 seconds of using a ghost box, what's the point of using the ghost box? You can add as much white noise as you want, but if I get tired and my ears are ringing and I have a headache and I can only do it for 30 seconds, what's the point? So there has to be a law of diminishing returns of how much static you add. And I think in your situation, Rob, we've seen early on in the Joe's box in the 2005, 6, and 7, Steve Holte can, testify to this. We've seen in your box how quiet the box is, and you don't need that additional static.
Right.
I'm not saying if you absolutely don't need it, but it's not required. That additional static is not required.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, even doing forward in a quiet box is totally different. It's a different experience.
Right.
And I honestly now there's something deeper to God. I don't even know if I want to even open up this conversation. I mean, there's something deeper into into the communication. I think that with what I've touched on and what's happening um, in my research, something else is going on. I don't know if it's me personally. I don't know if what's happening, but it's going to a whole different level that I didn't even think was possible. I'm just speaking from experience. Um,
I'm
I
familiar.
don't know.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I don't know if it's something that Frank touched on also, but there's something else happening. It's bigger than anything I've ever experienced.
Discuss in detail, please. Is that something you want to talk about right now?
Well, I mean, it, yeah, I mean, it's totally different, and this is something that I think I might have touched base on a little bit, just because of my experience, what I experienced a few weeks ago by going out on an investigation. And Mike, I just think that something has opened me up to where I don't know if it's something with my abilities have now gotten to a point that I've never even thought I would ever be at, because I'm hearing other voices telling me to do things, going outside, like something told me to go outside. I go outside, I hear footsteps, and then something told me that she's going back in and going to hang out with a certain individual. I go back in the house. That certain individual is now having experiences.
Oh.
Um, Same thing happened on Saturday. During my show, I was getting really crazy responses on the boxes. Didn't know what it really meant. Um, and then all of a sudden, my hand starts hurting, and somebody else said something, and then I started feeling that person's emotions, and they were having like sinus issues. It was just it's just something that is going on, and I can't explain it. And then just something just told me that, yeah, you shouldn't be doing, going out on investigations anymore. This is what you need to concentrate on. It's just really, really strange.
And nothing like this has ever happened to you in all your years of investigating?
Never. And I don't know if it's because of what is transpiring with the Saturday show. But something is definitely happening, and it's crazy. And it's hard to explain. And the funny thing is a lot of people will use my box um, on Saturdays. Other people that have purchased my boxes have turned on their boxes while they're tuning into my show, and we're getting the same responses over all the same radios.
Okay, we've experienced that in person
Yeah,
together.
no, right.
Right.
But I mean,
It's
it's
happening
happening across, I mean,
just
throughout the world. I mean, because
right.
most of, like I said, majority of the people that own my boxes live in the UK or in Europe. Most people that tune into my show on Saturday nights, because it's the morning time in Europe, they're in Europe. So, and it's crazy. They're getting, I'm getting messages constantly from certain individuals, and they'll tell me, dude, we're getting the same responses. And they'll post it up, and they'll kind of tell me, hey, listen back at this spot. This is what the response was. This is what I got.
Right. No, that
No, and that's absolutely true, Katie. Location doesn't matter, because we have done boxes where, while I'm here, um, and Rob and Nikki are in Gettysburg, and they're asking questions from Gettysburg, and my box is giving them answers to their questions.
right.
Um, and there were certain things that were said. They went upstairs, and it told them to go upstairs because there was something upstairs. So they went up there, and sure enough, they found it. And then they told them that that there was some things in the wall, and that they'll be found in the wall. And the owner brought back a jar full of bones that were found in the wall. It's just really, really crazy.
I was I was with you live when that was going on. I couldn't believe that because the ghost box kept repeating in the walls, in the walls. And sure enough, that you're talking about the live paranormal investigation, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was incredible. That was, and we know that's possible, but again, every time it happens, it doesn't get old. And thank you for sharing everything that you've been going through, because obviously it's a milestone in your journey, if you will, if I can call it a journey, because you're not just an investigator. This is a journey. You've been doing this your whole life. And a lot of people in live paranormal said, it's your abilities. They're increasing. Ground and protect yourself, and it's all normal.
Oh, no, no.
Yeah.
I mean, but the funny thing is it's happening more and more, but maybe just because we're doing it in group sessions,
Mhm.
and that's intensifying everything. But it's crazy.
Well, I always talk about, and it's strange. A lot of the box builders have experienced accentuated or expanded, I call it consciousness or abilities. But I always bring up the example with Ron Ricketts of the mini box, and how after a period of time when he would be working with his colleagues with this box after he designed it, it got to a point where the communication was so strong he didn't need the box anymore. He literally
No,
said, he's like, it's gotten to a point now. When he first used the box, there's a few words. Then as it progressed and as he kept building and building, just like you, he kept exposing himself to this energy to the point where he said, the mini box is so incredible that it will take you to a point to where you don't need the box anymore. Basically, you're just using yourself. It's almost like the mini box or any ghost box is a floaty device for when you're in the pool for a child. And as soon as you take that off, you're swimming. You're swimming on your own. And so he alluded to the fact that the ghost box is just an instrument, literally, or a tool that gets you, the human, however it happens, however it works, to a place to where you have expanded consciousness or an awareness.
right.
And that's what's happening to you. I mean, that's what I would have to assume is happening to you. And Ron Ricketts was an electrical engineer. I believe he was more inclined to pursue science than in terms of a spiritual or religious texture or overtone to this research. But even he noticed from a very scientific background, he goes, I don't need this box anymore. I just don't. That's the level I'm at. And that seems like
No,
what's happening to you.
no, and that's exactly right. And the funny thing is like all the energy that I put into, like, it's gotten to the point to where when I build a box for somebody,
Mhm.
as soon as they turn it on, it's they get my name
Yeah.
first, and then they'll get their full name.
Happen.
And it happens constantly, all the time.
It happened to
Um,
me, but I still get your name. I don't get my name anymore, but through your boxes, I get your name all the time. Rob.
yeah,
Just that's
it's
it. Just Rob. Rob. You know. Yeah.
no, it's crazy. And yeah, or sometimes I'll turn on the box when I'm testing it, and it'll tell me who it's for, and I'm like,
Right.
It's funny. I just sit there and I laugh. I mean, that's all I can do is I just laugh.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the show and the journey. And I feel like our podcast, in a way, we didn't realize this. I didn't realize this. It's almost documenting your journey as a box builder. Steve and Katie are on the show. They're very experienced ghost box builders and ITC researchers. So I know a lot of the things have happened to them, or they get unique communication that maybe others don't get as frequently because they're constantly building these devices. You're constantly building these devices, and you're opening
Yeah.
yourself up. And it's like anything in life, wherever you put your time or energy or whatever you focus on, you can achieve results. I mean, that's a real thing. And this too takes time and patience and practice, but you're growing and you're evolving. And it's incredible. I've seen you evolve as an ITC builder and researcher, and you've taken leaps and bounds. And now the Saturday show is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Yeah. And the Saturday show, I mean, it's just taken off.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I mean, just with the following.
Right.
I mean, I can't thank my watchers of um or my viewers, for I mean, I couldn't do it without their support,
Oh,
and
it's
they're the only they're the only reason why I keep on doing it. I
it's
mean,
true.
there's been times when I'm just like, I don't want to do this tonight. I really don't. But it's like I'm just dedicated, and I'm like, I got to change the hours of the show, and then I'm like, but I can't. So it's always like a catch-22. I don't want to do something, but I keep on doing it because of, you know, I just do it for the viewers.
Right.
And
No,
I
and
did.
that's true.
I mean, I mean, I only have one ghost box left that I'm going to build. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's sitting behind me, but
Not if I have
whatever.
anything to do with it. I have ideas up here I need you to build because my hands shake when I solder. So I need you to I need you to build some stuff, man.
Yeah,
Oh, look at that.
this is my last one.
Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's amazing. The
So yeah, after that, I don't plan on building any for a while, if ever.
you're
And
pursuing
I'm just saying that.
you're going to pursue the other research though, right? You're going to still research.
Yeah, no, there's some other things that I want to
Yeah.
get to.
There's some stuff you need to keep pursuing, which I mean the audience will find out sooner or later. But yeah, there's some things you need to keep pursuing. But to come full circle and answer Live Paranormal's question about the white noise, the static or the white noise from a radio in general can be from several different things. We have thermal noise or internal noise from the radio circuitry itself that creates noise or static. And as the radio or the antenna is picking up those frequencies, the resonant frequency, when it's not on the resonant frequency, it is static. So when the antenna is locked onto a signal, essentially, that's where you hear the radio station. And when it's not, the radio essentially picks up static, and that can come from the environment, RF interference, electromagnetic weather storms. I mean, there could be so many different variables and factors, but there are certain receivers or chips that are designed to either cancel out as much noise as possible, or they're tuned in a particular way to where they, how do I say this? The resonant frequency is locked on essentially, and it's not changing or affected by so much stimuli all the time. That's more of Rob's area, but basically that's kind of the gist.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like a
just
dead
audio.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, audio frequency is just it's crazy. I mean, when you tune into a dead channel, and then you start hearing voices coming through,
Right.
it's mind blowing. I do that all the time. I just put it on a dead channel, and then I'll put it on some high frequency meditation, um, and then you just hear the voices coming through like crazy, like us just talking. They're very low, almost like a whisper, but they are coming through, and that's something that I'm working on, and something that I want to pursue.
Right. From the clips you've played for me, essentially, it And Katie says, do you like DRV, direct radio voice? Absolutely. And I think this is slightly different in the sense that, and I'll be very general, Rob, because I know this is what you're working on and it's for you to discuss more or less, but at the same time, it's a combination and mix and or saturation of certain frequencies. It's like a particular recipe of frequencies, essentially, that's creating the ability for communication to come in uninterrupted without a sweep.
Yep.
And I guess I can just leave it at that. It's a particular recipe of frequencies that are mixed together. And it's not just which frequencies, but it's the amplitude of the frequency and its mix within the mix. So there's it, as time goes on, it will be easier to explain, but that's essentially the idea. Spirit boxes experience, remember. Oh,
Now, this is something that I do experiment with a lot. This is what got me into spirit box communication because, like I said, I mean, I was the biggest skeptic when it came to spirit box communication. I used to just sit there and laugh at people that would do ghost box sessions. Because it was just, yeah, we're listening to freaking radio responses. I mean, that's what it was.
right.
I used to give Josh shit for what he did.
Yeah.
He showed me the mini box and I kind of laughed. I mean, there was a lot of things
He laughed
he
at the
showed
mini
me,
box, you guys.
and I would just sit there and laugh and be like, dude, this, all these devices are just broken radios. What the hell are you doing? Um, and then once I started playing around with frequencies and things like that, and experimenting with the ghost box while I was playing around with these frequencies and doing screwing and things like that. Um, yeah, just the communications just started coming through.
Right.
So that's what got me into ghost boxes.
Right. Yeah, and now you're building them. I mean, I can name probably on two hands. I only need 6 or 7 fingers. People I can think of that are actively building boxes, or I know that you're going to be stopping soon. So, but at the same time, you became one of the current builders. Amazing how that journey's progressed.
Yeah, I mean it was a fun journey. I wouldn't lie. I mean, I've had fun. It's been very frustrating, more frustrating than anything. But over the last, I would probably say, you know, year or more, it's been a little rewarding. I'm not saying financially, but um, I think I just felt happy with what I was doing and with some of the people that I was able to get some boxes to and hear some of their research using them and stuff, and it was pretty rewarding.
Right. Parasense has some great comments. Electric shamanism. That's a very, very good way to describe it. Electric medium. I know we've been called
And,
electric mediums or
and the funny thing is
sonic
see
mediums.
that just becomes with my heritage, and something that I became in tune with. I was lucky at an early age, to kind of understand what I was dealing with,
Right.
but never really perfected that. And I don't think anybody ever does, to be honest. Um,
Right.
it's just something that I don't think that ever happens. I don't think we ever really perfect our skills when it
Or,
comes to spirit communication
or anything. I
or
mean,
anything because
even the
we're always
master.
learning. Yeah, we're always learning.
Right. Well, yeah, and to say anyone's perfected anything in this field or is an expert in anything in terms of all knowing, it's obviously that doesn't apply in this situation because none of us really know truly 100% what's going on, but we can be experts in our field, or I can carry my experience from audio engineering into ITC, things like that. But yeah, it's a constant process of growing, and I'm excited for where you're going next, and hopefully that's something that we can. I don't know if you can present it on your Saturday show. I don't know. Maybe if the research progresses, that's something we can implement or try in a new fashion.
I mean, that's what I want to that's what I'm gonna try to use the Saturday show for, is to try to do different type of experiments. I mean, I don't wanna just constantly do ghost box sessions. Yes, that's gonna be a part of the show,
Right.
but I also wanna implement some new experiments along with that.
Sure.
Maybe between sessions, kinda give me a break, from doing sessions, because sessions can be draining, very draining, especially
Yeah.
last week. I was exhausted, after the show, and that doesn't usually happen. As everybody knows, I would go for hours and hours, but, as you notice, the shows are getting shorter. They've gotten progressively shorter. They went from 5 hours down to now I'm averaging maybe 2.5 hours,
Right.
and even the 2.5 hours is a little long, but I'm hanging in there and just trying to push through it,
Now,
so
the audience has incredible stamina because when I'm at work working those hours and I see the audience still chatting, I mean, I'm there, guys. I'm in the background. I just don't say anything, but I do listen to the shows in the background when I can. And I know that you're fading because it takes so much of your energy, but the audience is like ready for another round. It's like 3 hours later, they're just ready to go.
come on.
I, that's such a, whoever's listening to the Saturday show, if you're part of that audience, if you want to join it, it is an incredible experience, an incredible group of people that are just so passionate. And really, Rob, I know they drive you to keep doing this because it can be draining. And
No,
it's
no, and it can be.
right.
Yeah, I just finished up a new Black Mirror, for that. It's 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 amazing. I'm staring at it and I'm just like, "Oh my god, this thing is amazing." Um, yeah, it's just so cool looking. I'm just so proud of it. And it's gonna be part of the show. So yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. And you know what? It's going to offer a variety because it's going to become more about research and what other methods can be used. And that's something that you've been working on for a while. I'm really excited for you to debut it or, as it takes its natural progression, whenever that is. I'm just really excited about that research.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Josh has experienced me doing some scrolling in the
Mhm.
past. It's kind of crazy,
Yeah.
but it's totally different type of communication. That's for sure. For those of you that don't know what scrolling is it's a type of spirit communication that you use to communicate with spirit, by putting a candle in front of a black mirror, and then you just basically stare into the mirror, and then you'll see all of a sudden you'll start seeing faces come through, whether it's your own face, your face starts morphing into other faces. Um, it's really cool when it happens. It's just really hard. It's really hard to explain. I mean, on my Saturday show, I mean, I do have a black mirror. It's a small one, but this one's much bigger. But I do have a small black mirror. It's this one here. It's a little dusty, but anyway.
Right.
So Saturday, and we've seen things kind of appear in the mirror during the Saturday show. Um, Last Saturday there was a woman and a man starting to show themselves in the mirror. And that hasn't happened in a long time. And I wasn't using it or trying to communicate with anything in the mirror. It just started appearing. Um, in the very first couple of sessions that I ever did on a Saturday, we had um, a light appear and then disappear, or would reappear, disappear. And then there was another time when like a little round circle was kind of like spinning, and it was like a rainbow color. And then it would just go away, and then it would come back, and then it would go away. That happened several times, and everybody's like, "What do you have that's shining in the mirror?" And I was like, "There's nothing in here." because it's just dark. And people were like, "Look in the mirror," and I would look, and I was like, "Yeah, there's something like a little rainbow circle." Um, it was weird, and then it just disappeared and never came back. So it was just really strange.
That's definitely strange. I've never seen that through the mirrors. When I've seen you scry or use the mirrors, I've never seen anything like that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Oh, Life Paranormal is explaining the schedule. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, you better like us, Cindy. Yeah, you better like us too. um, let's see. Oh, I had you know what, Rob? I pulled up a question from earlier from Steve Holte about a recorder. If I
Oh
can
yeah,
answer
go
that
for
really quick. Steve asked about, and I believe I pulled this off correctly, and I remember this recorder. He was asking about the Panasonic RRS 30 recorder. And that's the one I remember when that came out. It was shaped like a tape recorder for nostalgic purposes. It is a digital recorder that does record. I wouldn't call it high fidelity at all. It's 96 kilobytes per second in mono and 192 kilobytes per second in stereo, or yeah, long play, which is probably, I don't even, that's probably not even 44.1 kilohertz. It's probably 16 kilohertz.
It's probably 16, somewhere around there. Yeah, I would say it's about 16.
And it, you know, I've never owned one. I've owned literally, and I'm not exaggerating, most everything, and I've bought and sold and tested a lot of these recorders. I never picked up this one. I believe it was an import. I do remember when it came out. It might be really good at EVP. A lot of people are searching the Panasonic catalog to try and reduplicate the RRDR60, and I can pretty much tell you with 99.5% certainty, I'll leave 0.5% off, you're not going to find that combination of errors in building a recorder ever again. Remember, the DR60 was the first one to market. It was the first one with portable A to D conversion. It was the first of everything of its kind. And they screwed up so bad, but yet the screw up led to it being basically a sweeping recorder. So their error was our luck in the ITC community, even though it's kind of hard to hear the responses sometimes. But Steve, the S30, I believe it would be good at EVP. It's not, again, it's going to record in compressed audio. So take that for what it is, but it will not be a DR60, especially because there's so many reasons, but I've searched the Panasonic catalog.
But if you ever listen to the DR60, if you're listening to the responses, the voices always sound the same.
Right. They're of the same frequency. People have reported the angry man or the screaming that comes through the recorder. And we can go into this another time. I do believe that is basically what.
You're back on.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah. It looked like it shut off because the light lit up, the LED screen lit up. So
I don't know why it. Okay. I guess my mic likes to shut off. Anyway, whatever. I guess because I'm talking about the DR60, but essentially the VOR essentially is a noise gate. It records above a certain volume threshold. Essentially, that's what it is, and you set that at different sensitivity levels. But the combination of the misclocked circuitry, the A to D conversion, and the VOR, the noise gate not working properly with the microphone, it's the perfect storm essentially. And so that recorder, you're just not going to find the combination or the sound or the way that recorder operates. You're not going to find that in pretty much any other low resolution digital recorder. I've looked. I've literally looked. I've searched high and low for a decade. But the S30 Steve Holte is looking at might be good for EVP. Might be good to check out. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's always worth buying something and trying it out. If it doesn't work out for you,
sell it.
Back up on eBay and
right.
get your money back.
Right. Yeah, it could be a cool little recorder. You never know. It might capture EVP for some reason. Maybe it's got weak electromagnetic shielding. Maybe there might be some property to it that might just have the special sauce for EVP. You never know.
Yeah, you can be like me, spending thousands of dollars on audio equipment to test out to see what's going to work the best.
I'm just making a list over here. I'm listening to you and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get this. Okay, I'm not going to get this. How'd that one work, Rob? Great. Not going to get this. You're just doing my homework for me.
Yeah, if anybody's looking for any type of audio gear, any type of streaming gear, any type of yeah, anything to do with streaming, hit me up. I'll tell you what to stay away from and what I would recommend.
Yeah. Rob's got that down.
Yeah.
I'm just taking notes over here.
And if you're running Windows, I'll tell you what to run. If you're running a Mac, I'll tell you what to run.
Yeah. Well, don't run the Mac. We tried the Mac early today. It didn't work too well.
Well, honestly, here's here's the thing with the Mac. Before you ever start streaming a show, always reboot your Mac. Yeah. Always reboot your Mac. Make sure you're not running anything in the background. Reboot your Mac.
Yeah,
PC is a little bit more like a tank. It can handle it usually.
Macs usually run off their audio off the core audio, unless you have a separate sound card or special interface. They usually will run off the core audio drivers. So yeah, it basically, if something happens, you have to restart your computer, or if you know how to reset your drivers, reset them. But it's usually restarting.
Yeah, no. Don't even try to do sudo commands to reboot anything. Just freaking reboot. It's going to take you longer to run sudo commands than rebooting.
Right. Well, and I think because you're building the streaming situation, a solution for the Saturday show, and what you're bringing in terms of experimentation coming down the road, it's also kind of leading me to get me more organized and set up for our show, because I think there's a way where I might be able to stream something to you, or if we're working on something back and forth, there's got to be a way to where our audience can see what we're working on, even to some degree. So we'll figure that out as time goes on.
We're getting there. We are getting there.
Don't read the comments.
No, I did.
Okay.
We're getting there.
So is that what we need on the Wednesday show?
No, we don't.
I know. But
if you want that, I'll throw up some wallpaper.
Right.
I'll throw in a new backdrop.
He seems satisfied with that response. That went over well. But see, getting a cold science base. I'm just catching up some of the comments. It's gone. So let's see. Parascent says, I think using mind machines along with spirit boxes can be dangerous. At times felt my thoughts became negative, maybe subconscious or gamma super conscious.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it can be. You have to be very, very careful. You know what I found in doing something like that? I'm hearing voices and I just heard a bang in here. See, I mean, my place is always freaking going crazy. Yeah, I'm hearing voices. They're very faint.
Is it not to get audio engineering on you, but is it crosstalk? I mean, are you running other channels or anything?
No, there's no crosstalk. There's nothing. It just started happening. And then I heard a bang. So yeah, that's par for the course here. Anyway.
You okay?
No, I'm good. I was reading something in the comment. Oh. No, I was reading a comment from Live Paranormal. Okay, so you did hear it. So, that's weird. And there's nobody around here. So,
I'm not hearing anything. I mean, I know it's possible you could be hearing something and our audience can. I get that, but I don't hear anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way that my mic is set up too, I mean, you might hear some loud noises, but usually not whispers, unless it's something coming through.
You're using a dynamic mic too, and those usually need a lot of preamplification because they're so sensitive to drive the signal. And what's interesting is they're very directional towards your voice. So
well, they are. They won't pick up anything outside. Usually, I mean, unless it's a loud noise, a bang or something, well, they'll usually pick that up. But yeah, it's not like a condenser mic where it's going to pick up
Right.
it'll pick up an ant fart from across the room.
Good analogy. Actually, that's exactly what a condenser mic essentially does. Right. Yeah.
Um,
Joe says
yeah,
it's been going on all night.
that's weird.
Yeah, it's very if Rob, don't
No, I don't have any REM pods or cat balls on right now.
if you're
I
ever in the LA area, stop by Rob's house. It is there's something going on there for sure.
And this is why I said I don't need to go to any haunted locations. I've experienced stuff here every day. And that's why I said I just think that my energy, and that's what I was kind of getting at. My energy needs to focus on what I'm working on, not other locations that have energy also or don't have energy. Um, to me now, I'm basically wasting my time by taking my time away from my life doing that because I can experience that daily, and I don't want to. I don't know. I just don't want to focus my energy on that. Just want to keep it focused here and on my end goal is to further my, I guess, further my research. And I don't have to go elsewhere to do that. Everything needs to be concentrated here, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. Absolutely. Raina says yes, it's been soft voices all night.
That's weird. I didn't really hear. I mean, I heard it just a couple of minutes ago. That's the first time.
That's your chair.
Yeah, my chair's squeaky.
Wow.
I need a new chair. This chair's comfy, but I want a mesh chair. These gamer chairs, they're not very comfort. I mean, they're comfy, but after a while, for me sitting in it for 10 hours a day,
Right.
it's just, it needs to be replaced.
It's like small talk at a bar. That's interesting. I'm just trying to be quiet to hear something. Actually, I kind of do hear something. I'm not kidding. I
Yeah, I
do hear
don't know.
something. I hear like it's almost like there's a bar 2 blocks away, or you hear it. It's like 4 rooms over. Man, you guys have good ears. I didn't hear that before. And you're detached. I mean, you're not even near anyone right now.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I know where your studio is, and I know your neighbors. You have
They're
acre
far away.
lots. Yeah, they're really far away. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but if you come on my street any time of the day, no matter when it is, you won't see a you might see a person walking their dog or riding a horse by. Um, but it's one in very, I don't know. You can sit here all day and you might see 3 people walk by in a full day.
Right. Right. Um, did you post this question up?
Yeah, I just posted it
Okay.
up.
Ben asks, do you think the field is stagnant, especially with these boxes? I have an opinion. Rob, do you have an opinion on this?
Go ahead.
Well, do you want to go first? Because
No, you go first.
um,
I I'm always opinionated. So
I know what the right answer is, Ben, and I know what some of my colleagues want me to say. My opinion is, how do I say this? We're
just
moving way too fast on something we know nothing about. And what I mean by that is we still haven't learned how to properly hear the communication from the ghost box. I still see, and I'm just being blunt here, leveling with you guys. I still see 90% of people that upload to YouTube still aren't recording their sessions properly. Their microphones across the room, or they're standing in the back of the room, and there's all sorts of noise and things that can come between them and the source. So they say, I hear cat. Well, I heard bat because you're 20 feet away, or you're using, I guess this is what I'm going to say. Until we learn to replay, and review our evidence and log things properly and data log the frequencies and properly look at this and examine this thoroughly, I think we haven't even scratched the surface of the ghost box. We know that the ghost box works, but we have nothing on interpretation. We have nothing on analysis. We have nothing to say this is hardcore. Now, in that sense, I still encourage the colleagues I work with to move forward with other research, like Rob wants to pursue other things other than the ghost box. But I think that might be my role, is to say, wait a minute, we haven't reviewed everything properly. And let me tell you, Ben, some of the best boxes that have been made, and I'm not talking about Rob's or Steve's or Katie's or Jay's or anyone else's. Some of the best boxes are hard to find. And some of those best boxes have revealed communication that most people aren't even talking about. I always bring up the mini box. There's only a few of them. But if you listen to a mini box, you go, oh my God, there's so much more going on. But not many people have them, so you can't talk about them with other people, or the information isn't getting out there about these boxes. So there are a lot of boxes that most people still don't know about. Thank God for Rob's boxes and Steve's boxes and Katie's boxes and Jay's boxes, because those are amazing machines and they're giving us that communication. But there's so much we still don't know about some of the best boxes that have been ever made. There's still so much we don't know about the frequencies, long wave, short wave, medium wave. There's so much we don't know about how to interpret and analyze and look at the frequencies. There may be communication we can't even see yet. We're always using our ears. Well, let's look at the communication visually. Is it representing anything mathematically? So the ghost box, although it seems like it's been around for a while, and the radio's been used in ITC research since the 50s, 1950s, 1960s, in my opinion, I'm sorry I'm long-winded, no, I don't think it's stale. I think we're just getting started, and I think people are impatient to jump to the next thing. That's all I have. Rob's going to go in a completely different direction with his response.
No, I mean, I honestly, I think the same thing. Honestly, I mean, with me, I just don't think. Yeah, I just think that hasn't been enough research done. I mean, honestly, the same thing with the paranormal. I mean, the paranormal field, I think, is more stagnant than it ever has been in a long time. Even though that there's a lot more people doing it, I just think that it's not being done properly. And we did discuss that last week. It's just sad, really, with that. But
right.
Everybody's copying everybody else, and it's funny because it was never like that. It has never been like that. Well, I'm not going to say that. I mean, it's been like that since 2020, since 2004, roughly. That's what everybody does. It hasn't progressed at all in God. What, 18 years at least?
Right.
It hasn't gone anywhere.
Right.
In 18 years. And it's sad because, everybody's kind of trying to do the same thing. Everybody's trying to, use the same equipment that has been, introduced into the field, which kind of has been known not to do what people say it does. But people still use it anyway. Anyway, it just hasn't progressed. So it has become stagnant.
Right. And I think in some ways I absolutely agree with you. I see your point. It's a very valid point. And in many ways it has. But for example, I've seen the progress of many ghost box builders, and David says here, I honestly believe the ghost box can be modded even more. I still think there's fuel in the tank. There's still things that I feel like we can do. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think we should just stick on the ghost box and never pursue other avenues, but we still don't know what we're dealing with. I mean, we still can't say with 100% accuracy what we're dealing with. So to say that the ghost box or the ITC field is stagnant, I think the more we learn about the human body in conjunction with the progression of technology in these instruments, I think it's going to eventually further our understanding of what's going on. And again, it's learning more about us as human. We don't even understand the human body or the brain, or we don't even know the source of consciousness. I mean, we don't. So to say that the ghost box is out of gas, in my opinion, is too soon. But I see your point, Rob, about the field and what's been going on for the last 2 decades. I see the stagnation. I see what you're saying. People are just copying each other. For the last 10 years, people have been fascinated over the reverb pedal, which I can tell you guys honestly, the reverb pedal is not going to solve anything. It's not going to bring any answers forward. It's not going to, no one's going to go, Eureka, I figured everything out because I cranked up the reverb. It's a lateral move at best. And I'd like to see us move away from certain things. But at the same time, I still feel like there's a lot of ITC research that can move forward.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, so many people still want a geobox. It is so funny on how we still see that. And yes, somebody requested one from me, and I said, okay. Yes, I mean, I can execute a geobox better than it was first intended, because I mean, I'm doing it the proper way and sending the signal through the proper way.
Right.
The end result, I mean, the results are 100 times better, but you still come out with muddy responses. They're a little cleaner, but they are still muddy.
Right.
You can make them out, but they're still muddy. I just kind of tell people, look, are you sure you really want this? But it is adjustable. You can make it adjustable. You can make it sound however you want. It's something that if I'm going to put my name on something, I'm going to make sure it's done right. But to each his own.
Right.
I mean, this box here, I can make it sound exactly like a geobox. I mean, I have all the setup to do it. I can make it come out crystal clear, with crystal clear responses.
Right.
I can I can adjust reverb. I can adjust the spring reverb. I have full control over that box, full control. So with other boxes, you don't have that full control, and that's a sad thing.
That's it. You can't control the reverb. It's preset, and you can't also record a raw audio signal from that. So there's no benchmark. There's no A/B.
No.
Yeah.
This, you can record whatever's coming out of the tuner. You can get that same. Damn it! I just knocked over a box. You can get that same response through in a crystal clear recording, bypassing all of the effects.
Right.
So,
right. And we've talked about bussing in effect. I mean, I think we talked about that in one of the earlier shows. We talked about reverb or maybe how to apply it and things like that. But your application of it, and then there's some other box builders that we're friends with that have applied reverb properly, which in a way that you can record the raw audio signal, record the affected signal. You have something to compare it to, so you kind of have the best of both worlds.
No, exactly.
Which is what you want as an ITC operator. You really do want as much control as possible, at least of the device you're using. Even though, again, some would argue it doesn't matter. I still think it's a nice feature for the operator to have.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the radio, going directly, yes, it's going through another effect essentially, and then being processed out, but then it's coming through, and you're getting 100% clean signal coming out of my mixer when it comes out to the live stream.
Right.
So, I mean, the audio can't be any more clear. I'm not holding up a box trying to, and you can barely understand what's coming across the radio. with some of the other sessions that I've seen. I wanted it to, I fought hard to get where I'm at today. Um, it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally, to get to where the audio comes out through my broadcast. Um, and it wasn't easy, but I did try to figure out the best way on how I could do that. So I went through a line out, and then from there just came directly into the mixer. And once I started playing around with it and got everything tuned right, I was like, "Holy crap, this sounds good!" And then Josh was like, "What the hell did you do?"
Yeah. How did
Uh,
how did you get a reverse Joe's box? Like, what is going on here? You just reversed the Joe's box. First of all, how did you recreate the Joe's box and make it better? Then how did you reverse it? But we've talked about that in a previous show too, so I don't want to bore people to death with that. Like,
yeah,
explain that again. um,
but yeah, no, there was a helicopter that flew overhead.
yeah, I
Sorry.
thought I heard that from your yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of things to do with frequencies that we still
Right.
have no clue with, and that's something that I have been experimenting on or with before I even started building ghost boxes.
Mhm.
If anybody really wants to play around with different frequencies and they don't want to invest in any shortwave radio or anything like that, the best thing to do is go online, and look for an SDR. So it's basically it's a little box that plugs into a computer. Shit, I have one. Oh, it's in another box in my storage. Um, if you get an SDR, it's a software defined radio is what it stands for. Basically, it's a little tuner that plugs into a USB port, and then it has an antenna, and then you get some software off of the internet. You have to install drivers, install the software, and then basically you can basically tune into any frequency, any man-made frequency out there. And people have been using SDRs for ghost boxes also, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You can go all the way down to, like I said, the really low frequencies, um, all the way up to cell phone frequencies. Um,
Well,
if you want to, if you're into listening to radio tower,
I was just
air
gonna say,
traffic controller,
I
you
was
can
just
do that.
gonna,
You
I would,
can listen to police scanners. You can listen to anything that's out there, anything
right.
that's broadcasted.
Well,
UFO researchers use them a lot.
I man, you're like reading my mind right now. The last four things I was going to interrupt you with, you just rambled off like in a row. I can't believe that. You were literally read my mind. I was going to bring up the high frequency communications. Dave was mentioning satellite frequency. And what's interesting about satellite communications is we don't have to worry about the ionosphere and mesosphere or the atmosphere of Earth so much like we did with AM band. When at night, the AM band would bounce off the ionosphere and just keep traveling around the globe. That's why at night you hear AM bands from further away from your location than you do during the daytime. Because at nighttime, the electrons in the ionosphere break down and basically create a barrier for the AM band to just keep bouncing off the ground, back up into the sky, back to the ground, back up into the sky. And it does this as far as it can go. With satellite communications, we're essentially breaking through the ionosphere and the mesosphere. And that is something else Rob was bringing up, is researching those frequencies. We haven't even begun to research those frequencies. We haven't actively swept those frequencies. I know with Marcello Bacci, who was working with direct radio voice, the communication he would receive, the entities or spirit, however you want to address that, the intelligent consciousness, would let him know that there is quote unquote magic happening in the mesosphere or ionosphere, particularly those two layers of the Earth's atmosphere they claimed were helping or assisting with communication. Make that of it as you will. Again, I can't prove anything. I can't prove this to be true, but at the same time, we are looking at the higher frequency communications that do exist in the ionosphere and go up to the mesosphere. because that still has to be explored. We're exploring shortwave, we're exploring medium wave, long wave, but there are so many other frequencies still to explore, methodologies to improve upon when exploring these. And again, it's all comes down to interpretation and analysis. How are we going to interpret it? What are we going to make of that, of those results?
Yeah, I mean, you can find SDRs anywhere. So, I mean, if you go,
Dawn,
um,
Dawn.
if you go to Amazon, if you look up SDR, some of the better units are going to cost, almost $300. But you can get a basic SDR kit for about, 40 bucks, 45 bucks, $100 with a decent antenna. But the antenna into the area you live in that's going to make or break the communication that you do get with
Yeah.
this. Um,
I was going to say that's the difficult part, is you may have to travel a little bit or leave your area, again, depending on where you live. I know a lot of people do not get AM reception anywhere they are, no matter, even if it's a tuned radio frequency box. Steve, and I think Ben, you said he had a mini box, or Steve does. The one I have, the AM one, I've got to travel for it to really be effective or for it to be used. So it depends with the SDR where you are and listening to certain frequencies. Rob, actually, your box pretty much works anywhere. I don't think I've had an issue of traveling. I think your box just fires up and works anywhere I'm at.
yeah, I've never had an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I went in Devil's
No.
Gate with
Oh
one of
yeah.
my bosses, and I got amazing communication in there.
That's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. That's JPL territory.
No, exactly, and
There's some.
that's a solid cement tunnel.
Yeah. You know what, Rob? You know me. I can count how many investigations, official ones I've been on, but I was at Devil's Gate once, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. That place is strange. I mean,
Yeah.
that you walk onto that property, that area, and you're just like, wow, something, some witchcraft or something's been going on
Well,
here. It feels very weird there.
but that's what happened. Crowley, Hubbard, and uh, Parsons all did rituals there at Devil's Gate.
Devil's Gate Dawn is in Pasadena, right? Is it just south of Jet Propulsion Laboratory? It's on the
Yeah,
property, but it's just
it's on the other side of the river
right,
bottom.
right. And I believe it was. Oh gosh, Rob, I might screw this up completely, but wasn't Henry Ford and Jack Parsons? Wasn't a few at the time, in that time era? There were a few big business conglomerates or heads of business that were working or were friends of JPL, and they were all putting their money together to try and work on the paranormal. There's something like that.
They were doing a lot of rituals.
Right. It still feels like, and listen, I'm not a seasoned investigator. I'm an ITC researcher, but I stepped on that ground and I was immediately, something is going on there. And it could just be, I don't know. I don't know what it could be. It definitely feels like there's a change in electromagnetism. You feel like I don't know, you feel like static electricity constantly all the time, everywhere. That's what I at least felt, like a buzzing or a static electricity. And it could just be a natural occurrence from, I don't know what the power grid situation is there. I don't know what could have been radioactive. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. What is it?
I was trying to post something up on. Oh, there you
the
go.
SDR. Yeah, the SDR. Oh, good. You posted the link.
That SDR is it's a good one. It's pricey though. It's about it's 320.
Okay. Yeah, that is pricey. It is a little pricey but there again, maybe that's something. I don't know, Rob. I haven't opened up one of those, and it might be something that you could bring to a consumer level. I don't know.
I mean, they're basically all,
They're all the same. Yeah.
it all depends on the circuit board. But and then there's a couple of others. These are all on Amazon, by the way. Here's another one that's pretty decent. I've used a few of them.
I wonder if Jeff Bezos knows he's selling equipment that we use to
Oh,
reach
I'm
into the
sure.
mesosphere to talk to interdimensional entities.
I'm sure. Who knows?
He probably already does. He's probably got the equipment and we don't know it. He's had to have paid someone like, I want to talk to aliens. Here's money. Someone probably figured it out.
Exactly.
Just takes money. Devil's Gate. Yeah. Devil's Gate's in Pasadena. So just off the 210 freeway. Yeah. It's a very interesting place. And it's also a whitewash. It's a, I mean, it's their entire,
It's a dam. It's a
yeah.
dam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't been to the dam part particularly, but I know what you're talking about. So yeah, it's a dam. It's very, very, I don't get scared, but it is a scary place at night. I mean, it just feels weird. Very strange.
You just have to be careful going there at night. There's a lot of people that go in there and drinking.
What Steve says, what happens if you're abused?
What?
Ben, what's chart? Oh, okay. Never mind. There's a comment thread going on. We're a little behind on. You just read it. You'll see. I'm not going to repeat any of it. But
It is
essentially,
what it is.
But essentially, though, what to kind of come full circle on this question, I do feel a lot of the field, like Rob said, is stagnant. I do feel like a lot of people are just going in circles, watching other people do things and trying it. They want to try things for themselves, getting similar results, and then just kind of we're all recycling, regurgitating. But that's not to say I still don't think I still think some of the technology and the research that we're doing and the fact that, again, we still don't know some of the origins of our consciousness and so much about the human body. I feel like we're still in the infancy of the ghost box. It may seem like right now we can't push it to certain limits, but there might be something we can still do. And I still think there are things, but I think improving the radio or the ghost box may come at the expense of learning something else or going in a different direction for a period of time and gaining knowledge from doing something else or researching something else and bringing that back to a scanning radio. Researching other frequencies, high frequency communications, satellite frequencies, learning what we can about that, and then implementing maybe new ideas or new technology back into a scanning device. Because remember, we're just scanning the electromagnetic spectrum. That's all we're doing.
Exactly.
And Rob is finding ways to mix frequencies in a cocktail, if you will, to get consistent communication without scanning. And there's other people doing that as well. And I don't want to mention them because I didn't get their permission to talk about it, but there's some other people working in that regard. And maybe we'll follow pursuit and just go full steam ahead with that, or maybe come back and say, hey, let's add this to the ghost box. Let's improve something. So, and we're still figuring out the RRDR60. We still need to confirm the clocking issue on that. So I don't feel the research is stagnant, but I feel the social community in a way is stagnant. I could have said that so easily.
I mean, the field can take a huge step forward immediately. I mean, if people would stop running around in the dark with their lights turned off, that would be a huge step forward. Yeah, see, there's a helicopter flying around. There's been a helicopter kind of flying around this area for the last few days. This morning it was hovering. It was hovering. See, it's hovering again.
I wonder if recording helicopter blades in the sky like that would be a noise source. We could get EVP from that. Like the sound of the chopper.
Yeah, the rotors.
Never mind.
The rotors. Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
No, exactly.
Never mind.
Exactly. No, but yeah, I mean, seriously though, I mean, the field can take a huge step forward if people would start investigating with the lights on. We talked about why you don't want to investigate with the lights off anyway last week. Right. Just because the human in general, us humans in general are less observant at night. And then plus we can't really determine where sound is coming from. We're more visual people anyway. So with taking out your vision, you're already cutting out your senses, because unless you're blind, because your ears are going to be enhanced anyway. That's just how we are. That's how we're built. If we lose one sense, others are enhanced. So you that's one thing. The other thing is stop using electrician tools to chase, things that we don't know that even exist, because that's not what they were designed to do. They were designed to pick up certain frequencies and man-made frequencies at that. So for us trying to use those type of devices to go ghost hunting kind of makes us look stupid. Sorry, that was
Well,
a little harsh, but
I, I,
but in the scientific realm, I mean, that's what they look at us as, is like, look at what these people are doing. Anyway,
well, there is. Listen, Rob. Let's just be. The truth is the truth. We have to be objective about this. The scientific community, when they do decide to look over the back and go, all right, stop tapping me on the shoulder, show me which evidence you have, and they look at what we have, and we're using, you know, we're recording EVP evidence or recording a ghost box with a cheap recorder, or we're not presenting the evidence properly, or there's no general best practice or standard to present this evidence to other people. I think that's the problem, is when people say paranormal unity, I feel like there was a component of that that's not just social and everyone being friendly and everyone getting along. It's also, let's try to come up with some protocol, anything, some kind of best practice to say we've captured this evidence, we've done so in such a way that we think would be worth your time. But I think that's why a lot of these scientists don't take us seriously, or I say us, including myself, everyone, because we all can't agree, first of all, on what's being said. We're using an RRDR60 recorder that has low sample rate, low bit rate. It sounds garbled coming out of a really cheap speaker. And the 5 people in the room that heard something that are listening back to it all can't agree on what's being said. So how can we take that to a scientist or a serious researcher when we can't even conclude what's being said? So I think that's part of the issue, and that's what comes full circle. It's not just about the equipment and experiences, but we're not even quite yet in the infancy of how to document this, how to provide evidence in a sustainable way. There are a few groups out there doing it. There are, but by and large, the community is just a mess when it comes to presenting this evidence. And I'm not trying to pick on anyone, but I'm just trying to say that there's just no unity in the sense of how we agree to capture this evidence and analyze it.
mhm.
Forget about advancing the ghost box. We can't even agree on what's being said. We can't agree on where it's coming from. There
Mhm.
is a phenomena, but we're missing a big piece of that puzzle for to be taken seriously by everyone.
Now, back in 2000 and God, when was that? Back in 2006, I want to say it was around that time, 2006, 2008 time frame. There was a group that was I was part of that. Anyway, there was a group in Oregon that was trying to get this, kind of like put the everybody that was out there doing paranormal research, to get them all aligned to kind of come up with standards, pretty much
That's
like
right.
protocol.
That's right.
Um, and every day we would always meet. So basically, it became like there was at least 300 groups at one time. W- I would say there was about 300 groups at that time nationwide. I mean, that's how. I mean, it was big, but it was still small once you think about it. But so out of those 300, there was about maybe 30 groups that were part of this, that were trying to get everybody coming through. And that's where the para unity, um, this is where it all started. So people were pissed off because they were like, well, who are you to do this? Who are you to take control over this? And they're like, we're not. We're just, it has to start somewhere. Why don't we all just come together, and then we can just, come up with some type of standard, so It's not, we're not trying to set the ground rules. We're just trying to kind of get everybody on the same page pretty much. And everybody has their has their say in this. I mean, just because it's like everybody coming through and then just putting into their 2 cents, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, that sounds great, and then everybody give a reason why. So then there was things being documented, and then so anytime you did an investigation, you would come in, you would present your evidence, and then you would basically document it. And they would take control of that document, and they were like the holders, but you would submit it, and then you would put in a report with that, and then they would just document it. So it was really cool. And then other people would there was started a big fight, right? And then everybody started fighting. And then that whole thing just became, just disband. Um, and then everybody was just fighting. And then that's where the term para-unity came in. And then people were trying to form a para-unity group. And then we're like, this is so stupid. You guys are starting a para-unity group when everybody else is fighting. So it's just ridiculous. So anytime I hear para-unity, it's just like a joke. And anybody that hears that, it's like a joke, because people want to say that, but then nobody can even stay on the same page ever and kind of talk about, if anybody disagrees with any type of equipment, and then there's always a fight about something. It's
Right.
about something stupid. And
Right.
it's like, nobody's ever going to look at this serious, because nobody ever wants to become serious. That was
Exactly. Yeah.
that was like the one time that I saw, wow, somebody's actually taking the initiative to start this.
Right.
And there was other people that were starting to say, yeah, I'm into it. So there, like I said, there was about 50 groups.
Right.
Maybe a little bit. It started growing bigger and bigger. Then other people were just pissed off because they didn't agree with it. But
And
that
that's
was
right.
the one time that I think, and there was a lot of names out there that, they weren't even on shows yet or anything. They were like part of that. And then, yes, there was some part of them also that were like, screw that. Who are you to say anything? So it's just funny. It's just funny.
And that's, I think, is such a big component of this. Is I know you've received this communication and I have too. Again, take it for what it is, but when people ask, how do we solve this? How do we improve communication? I can't tell you how many times I've heard something to the effect of work together, or um, it's not going to come from one person. I don't think, well, not saying we can solve this at all, but I just don't think it's going to come from one person, you know, not one person turning on a reverb pedal, but one person, sorry, I had to throw that in there, but it's not going to come from one person. It's going to come from people working together. And your example is great, Rob. And it's the typical entropy or breakdown of the human ego getting in the way, or someone saying, well, who are you to start this? Well, without the ego, you say, this is a great idea. This is what we need to organize and to work together. But somewhere along the way, and it sneaks up on all of us, we all have ego affects everyone. We're human. But in this way, it breaks down that process, and people want to become possessive of something, or they see someone else trying to be possessive of starting a standardization process without realizing that, if multiple people had this idea, it might be a good idea. My experience when I first got into ghost boxing, leaving my EVP career essentially, was with my friend and our colleague, Rob, Tim Woolworth. And I started with him, and he invited me to, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see.
Right there.
Right there. It's called the Ghost Box Collective. And what Tim did was he tried an experiment worldwide to see what type of responses we'd all get from people around the world using the ghost box at the same time. But what he did, which is what I really liked, is he set protocol. And this is just one of the instruction sheets he had for the participants of the Ghost Box Collective. And I can't find the other paperwork right now, but we would do a Ghost Box session and we had pages to log. I mean, we would do a 5-minute session and I couldn't believe how thorough Tim was, but we would have to log the phase of the moon, the temperature, the humidity, the barometer, the time of day, what the temperature was in the room. Was the radio located near other electronic components? Was it not? I mean, we had such protocol to follow for this experiment. I couldn't believe it. And what I found that happened was, as brilliant as Tim is, and as amazing as this protocol setup was, um, you can see it becoming cumbersome. Especially if people have full-time jobs, families, careers, the whole thing like that, to sit down and actually log a ghost box session properly. I mean, properly, you're going to spend 4 to 6 hours on 5 minutes of audio, because you have to replay it, listen back a few times, flag things, document, write things down, notes, you talk about the environment you're in, what's going on. That's really what we should be doing. I'm just going to say it. That's really what we should be doing. I'm guilty of not doing that all the time. I don't have the time to absolutely log everything, but I think this was a really good start, what Tim did, and maybe others have done this, to try and document properly, or to create a standardization of the research and what we're recording, and get into good best practices to record this type of research.
But that was part of the, so with that other group that I was, and I think when we worked on the case together, on that one case together, I think you saw me logging everything. I think you did. I had a notebook and I had a sheet. I would log the date, the time, the temperature, the barometer readings, the moon phase. I had everything logged at every single point, whenever we started the investigation, and I would document that, and then I would keep, and that was part of the protocol that we came up with on that other group. Those were some of the things that you had to do. Yes, it's cumbersome,
Yeah,
but you know what?
it is.
Anytime, so it became to where I can tell you the best time, I mean, because it you started seeing a pattern. I mean, I had a program that I would put it into, and then it would, um, give you an analysis, um, and averages of certain things, like with activity. I've noticed activity is best during, 2 days before a full moon, 2 days after a full moon, never on a full moon.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Never on a full moon.
Right.
Um, And then the opposite end of the spectrum, it was 2 days before, a new moon, um, and 2 days after a new moon, and
Right.
nothing ever on a new moon. So it
Right.
was always the moon phases had a big part to do with it. The
Right.
barometer had a big part to do with it.
Right.
I've noticed at certain times of the day, when the barometer readings were at a certain point, you would have more activity, and that's why I said I have never gotten any great evidence or ever captured, well, I'm not gonna say ever because I have. Um, the most times that I ever caught an apparition on film was during the day. Um, yes, I got a shadow person twice on camera actually moving and slamming a door at night. Um, and then an apparition at night, but I was using a flash and
Right.
with a camera, and I did get an apparition.
Right.
So yeah, those are the, so. But anyway, it came down to it's literally a science. I can say, you know what, we're so when's this investigation? Saturday. Okay, let me look at the moon phase. Oh crap, we're not gonna get shit. Um, I mean, and I excuse the French, but
No, it's true.
it would happen. We wouldn't get anything, and people would be so pissed off. You just jinxed us. And it was like, no, it's the moon phase.
Right.
And then certain people said, yeah, Rob's right. I mean, we have done stuff on a full moon.
Right.
And I would always look at the moon phase on the calendar, and I would start, it got to the point to where, okay, we can't do it on this Saturday because it's a full moon. We can do it on this Saturday or this Friday. There's no full moon. And then people are saying, no, this is only days that you can do it. Well, it's a full moon. I don't want to do it. And 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 it would always happen. Nothing would ever, and I would just sit there just like, see, I told you. We just wasted our money. But I would just go for other people, but that's how it would happen. It was just crazy.
And you know what, Rob? That a lot of people I know, when you were documenting things like that, or I was, they were kind of rolling their eyes like, oh, come on. We don't need to do that to prove there's communication. And you don't. But what that evidence led to, and I concur with you, when I conduct sessions or do research on full moons, it's definitely light, if anything. And I say light at best. I mean, I'm with you. It's usually dead quiet. It's like everyone's recharging and it's just silent. But what that's shown is, like when you mentioned 2 days before a full moon, 2 days after, 2 days before and after the new moon, is we have scientists now. I know someone that's actually looking at gravity and how the location of the moon or the phase of the moon affects gravity, which affect, and we look at the sun, we look at radiation. Does radiation play a part of this? In terms of the Earth's rotation, is it happening during a certain period of the Earth's rotation? And then we look at,
And tides have a big part to do with it also.
right. And a lot of it comes down to electrons and the ionosphere. And then you look at the mesosphere. So when you look at all of these variables, those little boring notes you were taking about your ghost box session that are tedious, when you start to have statistical modeling and look for a pattern, you go, why is it that only during certain times of the moon phase do we get communication and not during others? And then you start to think, okay, now physics comes into play, or properties of physics or science come into play. And then you start looking at other things. And that's when people start bringing up quantum theory, quantum physics. And so those data points are what the scientists or the people that we in general look up to, like, hey, help us validate this. We're getting this communication. We can't just hand them the recorder and play them a low sample rate recording. They're going to throw it out the window and say, get out of here. But bring them 200 pages of statistical modeling, when you got the communication, how you got it, what was the moon phase, so they can look at things like gravitational pull, gravitational waves, electrons, radiation, position of the Earth around the sun, wherever the moon is. They can look at so many other things that maybe I don't know, or you don't know, or we don't know. And they might be able to add something bigger to the puzzle. So documenting ghost box sessions is important. And until we do more of it and do it properly, I don't think the ghost box is stagnant at all. In fact, I don't think we've made any leaps and bounds with it. We've improved the ghost box. We know the communication's there. We know the intelligent consciousness communication is there. But until we really start modeling some type of standard, we're just, it's like we're getting all these results and they're just flying away in the wind because no one is really coming forward with a protocol. And I think that does need to be in place somehow. I don't know how you do that now. I know the researchers and our colleagues, the people that are really passionate about the research, I would see that as might be able to be on the same page at some point. But the YouTube, TikTok sensation of ghost boxing and ITC research definitely is not interested in what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't bring talking about moon phase and and the barometer doesn't bring views or monetization. So it just doesn't.
Yeah, but you know what? I can go out and say, look, I captured Casper the Ghost in a window, and it be, dirt on the window, and people start flipping out over that picture. Oh my God, look, it's a girl, gets more, attention than, real research does. It's sad. It's just really sad. Um, but that's where we're at. We're just like, and here it comes again. We're at the instant gratification phase. That's what everybody's looking for. And I know that I think that's our motto of the show.
It really is.
I mean, but that's actually, I mean, but it always comes back. That's what everybody wants. Nobody wants to put in the work, and I'm a big. I repeat myself. Nobody wants to put in the work.
So do
It's too hard to put in work.
I. Right.
Um,
Well,
but you know what? When you put in that work and your work starts paying off, the the payout for that is so much more gratifying than the instant gratification.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think for most people, it's on and gone, or it's just a sensation, or it's a magic show trick. I don't know. I really don't follow the. I know about what's going on in the social media scene, but I don't follow it exactly. But yeah, it's a party trick to a lot of people, and they get really shocked when they hear their deceased family member's name or voice come through. Again, interpret that however you want. And again, it's an immediate instant gratification party trick. And some people may continue to follow that. Some people just may go, okay, that was cool, and may never address it again. And it does shock me that there are some people that treat this so much as just, oh, did you see that new video on TikTok? Cool. Okay, now let's go do something else. And I'm kind of interpreting that like, wait, do you understand what just happened? do you, and it's being kind of categorized as just, I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. But unfortunately, it's not being taken. The perception of what's going on is so varied among humans that know about this that it's just going to be hard to get a standardization unless it's amongst people in this chat, colleagues, friends that are researching it. There's a small sector that will do it, and there are people that are doing it right now. But the social aspect of it, the party trick, will always unfortunately be there, and there'll always be someone making money off of it.
Yeah, and Kanga Blue just said hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, entertainment.
You see a new group forming every week,
Mhm.
and it's funny. I mean, and it's all they think that they're being serious or whatever, but a lot of people, they're just looking for entertainment. They're looking for that instant gratification. They're looking for that scare. They're looking for whatever. But it's when it all comes down to it, it's all entertainment because
Right.
nobody wants to put in the time.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to brag or anything, but it just feels like um with as many views as my Sunday show or Saturday Sunday morning show is doing or getting, some of the I'm just blown away by how much attention that show is bringing, uh with all the researchers um and things. It's just crazy.
Are you saying this show is less important to you, Rob?
I'm
One
not
percent.
saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
No, I mean that I love this show. I mean,
I
I
know.
really do. I mean, I'm very passionate about it, and that's why I just say things that are on my mind because that's who I am. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to just tell it like it is because I'm just so passionate about what I do with everything that I do.
And all credit to you and your audience for the Saturday show. It is. It's like the second time that's happened. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, the light comes on too when it
Yeah,
happens.
it has to be a timer. That's not paranormal. There is definitely some kind of timer on this on my temporary recorder. Anyway, the Saturday show is definitely, you have a right to brag because what you've done is you set up a situation that has allowed other people. And Janice was in the chat earlier, long ago, I think over an hour ago. She said, "I had no idea that this type of communication existed, that ITC existed. I didn't know about any of this, and I stumbled onto your channel." And now she's one of uh, your
She's on there every week.
right. And I see her commenting, and she's listening, and she's got better ears than I do. And I mean, she's picking up this communication that's coming through, and that is a testament to the Saturday show. And that's why, we're encouraging you to keep going with this as long as obviously you can. I understand life is life. But the Saturday show is proving successful, and you've drawn people in like Lloyd. We had a parapsychologist that was on, a very well known parapsychologist who listened to your Saturday show and has heard your ghost box and said there might be something to this. And even though a random sweep or a linear sweep isn't necessarily random, he's even noticing there is just something uncanny about this. There's intelligent communication coming through, despite
Yeah, and
this, right?
he's even because the funny thing is somebody pointed out to me that um somebody on his show asked him, "How do you feel about ghost boxes?" And he said, "Well, I'm not really educated on them. I know that in the past, I've always said that it's nothing paranormal. But with what Rob Hernandez has been doing, he said, there's something there." He said, "I'm just blown away with what he's doing and what he's done with the box."
Right.
And he said, "There's definitely something there. And I would love to work with them in a controlled environment to experiment with a ghost box."
Exactly. And I think I know there's that protocol for randomness that's needed, pure randomness that only truly nature can provide. Computers, unless you're talking about a nuclear level, there's computers can only do so much with pure randomness. But at the same time, it's like we have a colleague, Ron, who's in the field, who's basically stated you can't, if you call someone on the phone 10 times and they only pick up once, that doesn't mean that the phenomena is not going on just because you can't repeat it 10 out of 10 times in a controlled environment. Because you can call someone on the phone and they may not be around that phone until they pick it up on the 10th time. And this is a lot of the same way as a lot of these professionals or people that are putting the protocol or the criteria for this to be a legitimate phenomenon are saying, well, you can't reduplicate it 10 out of 10 times in a controlled environment. And, his response, Ron's response is, well, I can call my father who lives 3,000 miles away 10 out of 10, 10 times. He may only pick up on the last time. That doesn't mean my father doesn't exist. That doesn't mean I didn't talk to him on the phone. So I think there needs to be, my gosh, I don't even know if I'm qualified to say this, but a recalibration of the criteria. This intelligent communication is so, might I say, obvious. It just is. It just is that I think the criteria needs to be reconsidered.
Well, especially with the session that we did on Saturday. So here was the thing. We kind of commented on, this is weird how we're getting so many names, but not once are we hearing any songs. And that never even occurred to me
Right,
until somebody said it. And I
right.
was like, oh my God, you know what? You're right. All night, I have not heard one single song. That in itself is crazy, because we're scanning through FM frequency. So, how is that possible that we're scanning through bands of FM frequency without hearing a single song one time?
Right. And even with the way I know you have your box set up for the Saturday show, we talk about, I like to talk about the duty cycle adjustment a lot. But when the duty cycle is on or the voltage is being applied, there's a long enough time length, the minimum time and the maximum time, or the time on frequency. There's enough time on frequency to hear music, to hear a guitar note, to hear two or three guitar notes, even in reverse, and we're not hearing it. And that is interesting. And I'm glad someone brought that up because when I really processed that, and you told me this a while ago, I thought about that. I said, you know what, you're right. We're not getting a lot of tones. We're not getting any music, essentially, is what is, there's no other way to say it.
No,
And
there isn't. I mean,
there's,
that's it. We're not getting any
right,
music. How's
there's,
that possible?
there's plenty of TOF, time on frequency, or time of frequency, to allow that to happen. And it's not. And that I don't quite understand. I can't explain that. I just can't.
And as I really haven't, I can't say I've, uh, worked with ghost boxes for many, many, many years because I haven't. Um, I've only been, building boxes for what, 3 years now. Um,
Yeah, but yeah, maybe a little longer.
Maybe a little bit longer, but I mean, I'm just saying 3 years, 3 years consistently. Let's just put it that way.
Right, right.
Um, and then from before that, playing with a ghost box here or there. I've never heard that happen ever. And that's why I say it's just broken radio because that's all I'd hear is, music coming through, people, DJs talking, things like that, but not names, not no music. And that's just strange in itself.
Right. And that's why I don't think, someone asks, is the ghost box field stagnant, or is what's going on stagnant? And I don't think so, because we're reporting so many different experiences. Something like that, I haven't really noticed before. I wasn't aware of, maybe subconsciously, but until someone brought that up and we're talking about it, it's like, wow, we're not. And, again, it's not like the sweep is scanning so fast that wouldn't be possible or would be misinterpreted as just some random
It's
noise.
not. It's
Right.
opposite. It's scanning slow. I mean,
Right.
it's not really scanning slow, but it's scanning at a different rate that
Right.
most people wouldn't use. Um,
And so there's another thing to add to the list that we can't explain. So no, the ghost box may appear stagnant because we hear a scanning radio and we go, "Oh yeah, ghost box." But everything beyond that, we have no mastery of. Interpretation, analysis, we don't even have protocol to analyze this. There's a few people again that have set that up. So absolutely not. I feel like now that the ghost box is here, we need to catch up with everything else around it. Really. Um,
Honestly, I mean, when somebody says is it stagnant, I think the way that it's being utilized might be because um, there isn't a lot of people who are sitting down and doing research, like real research. Like, I mean, I can name you, I can name Matt, Matthew Jackson,
mhm.
I can name myself, um, I could name Steve and Katie, and I don't know who else. I mean, there's probably a few others, but
KD's doing KD Supernatural, like he's doing the God helmet. Some really interesting applications for ITC research. Uh, I was gonna
but
say, yeah,
but the funny, I mean, so yes, there, so that, so and I've just named a few names, but
right, right. We're just there's
um,
many.
it's
Right.
just maybe a half, maybe a dozen, maybe even
Oh,
less. Um,
Paranormal, uh, Keith, Tim, Jeremy. They're doing all the like the Perlin noise. They have some engineers that are creating some new concoctions of noise. It's really
right,
interesting.
right. But I mean, I'm just saying, as far as ghost box research,
Oh,
here in
I see
the
what you're saying. Yes,
here
yes,
in the
yes.
U.S., you can probably say, maybe a dozen are doing research. Yes, people are maybe out on an investigation, running a ghost box, and kind of just saying, "Oh,
I
yeah, I
see what
heard
you're
this,
saying.
I heard that,"
I see what you're saying.
but not doing true research.
Right, right.
And
No,
that's
I
where I
get it. I
think
get it.
that's why it's getting stagnant, because there's only a handful of people doing it, and
Right,
we're trying to advance it as much as we can, but there's not enough people to basically take it to the,
right.
leap it to the very next level.
And that makes sense, and that comes back to the working together theory, because we all may know something that the other doesn't know that we can add to the puzzle. Um, and that's an excellent point. Uh, I want to answer Ben's
Yeah,
question really
so
quick.
this one just, yeah, nailed it on the head.
Procedures are stagnant and lax, but not the technological advancements. Exactly. Live paranormal. That is.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I should have said that one sentence earlier. I think I rambled for 20 minutes. That's all I needed to say. Procedures are stagnant and lax, but not the technological advancements. Well said. I'm not even going to add to that. It's perfect. Um, Ben, the gentleman in Italy, I believe who you're speaking of, or who I was speaking of, is Marcello Bacci.
Yep.
Marcello Bacci, and he worked with direct radio voice. Watch every video you can on his technique and look him up. Once you see what he was getting through direct radio voice without actively and constantly scanning, I mean, he would scan manually to dial in the frequencies, and he had particular frequencies he used. But once you hear the communication that comes in from his direct radio voice, and he did this with 40, 50, 60 people in the room. I mean, witnesses who have written testimony about this. It wasn't just by himself. You'll be blown away. And he's received some of the best audio communication, in my opinion, uh, since the 50s, since we started documenting this on a regular basis. Very, very fascinating research. Marcello Bacci, Bacci.
Yeah, Yeah, it's just funny on how we mention that. I mean, it's because once you do get direct radio voice, there's nothing like it. Um, there is nothing like it.
Exactly. Gosh, Ben just said, I don't think ITC is stagnant one bit. I agree with you. He says, but I had a discussion with someone stating it is, and it kind of disappointed me. Without, I don't want to sound too critical, but the people that say that are probably have checked out all the videos on YouTube and tried everything themselves and said, yeah, that's about as far as it can go. That's the recycle, regurgitate. Though that's a large majority of the people in the ITC. No, I'm sorry, not the ITC community, but it seems like a lot of the paranormal investigators are just regurgitating the same practices over and over again. And I think people are constantly looking for those few that are trying to further it. And once they do, that will be lumped into the larger cesspool of YouTube and TikTok videos. But I agree with you. It's using the word stagnant in ITC blows my mind. ITC and stagnant should never. It should just never be put in the same sentence together.
But see, then again, it goes in how much research you want to put in and
Yeah.
how much time you want to put in.
True.
If you want to put in 5 hours a night doing it, go for it. You want to put in 2 hours a night, go for it. It's the more time you put in, the better.
Right.
But ear fatigue plays a huge part. You're gonna have to try to find something that's not going to give you that ear fatigue. I can tell you this right now. Um, I can't use. There's certain boxes I just cannot use. I just can't.
I agree.
I can go 5 minutes, maybe 10 at the most, and say I'm done, and I turn it off,
Right.
and I say I can't use this radio anymore. Um,
And
it's that bad.
and although we always say, Rob, and we will say this all the time, you can get communication pretty much through any radio, through any digital recorder, analog recorder. I mean, we've captured evidence through every means and piece of technology.
You know what?
But
If I have to use something that's going to be noisy, then I'm not going to use that. Just give me freaking calm radio,
right,
give me some beach waves, and let me try to communicate with something.
right,
Yeah,
and, and we've that's right. And on top of that, the length of the sessions seems to have also played an impact. The longer you do the sessions, the more it seems your body's tuning in, the radio's tuning in. A lot of the times they'll say call back for a second session. Hold on. How many times have we gone to hang up the ghost box? Wait, we've all heard this. I know you know what I'm talking about. You count down and say, okay, I'm going to go, thank you, 5, 4, 3, 2. They either count down with you if you do a countdown process, or they say, wait, don't hang up. Because there's something to keeping the ghost box on longer. Maybe there's a part that they have to tune into or match frequencies. So if you're using a box that gives you ear fatigue that you can only use for 5 minutes, that may be doing a disservice to the communication because they may need a longer period of time to warm up communication. I know that's a terrible phrase, but however it works, the length of time of the session plays an impact. So you also want to make sure your ghost box, your equipment, doesn't give you, the operator, ear fatigue, doesn't put your energy or displace your energy or make you tired. So again, there's a lot of variables that go into this, and the human body is such an important factor in this communication. And we're learning as we go along that as important as a good ghost box is, a good frame of mind, health, intention, energy, all plays an impact into the communication.
yeah. Lisa, you said that if you're getting static from one of my boxes, then something's trying to come through, but it's not coming through the frequency. It's tuning into something, but it's not coming through. Now, if you want to um, better bring in more communication with no static, try to hit the reset button on the radio or on the box, and that's going to rescan. Just hold it down for like 3 seconds, and then it'll start to rescan. But also try to adjust the sweep rate. But something is trying to come through. Now, if nothing comes through, it will sound like static because it has to come through with something. So it's all or nothing. So it will try to pull something through because if it's picking up something on that frequency, it's going to try to pull it through. Um, if not, it would just skip over it. So just a little heads up on that.
Oh, that's it. Mr. Post said, I'd like to see ITC even expand beyond the paranormal communication with coma patients, for example. Exactly. Exactly. There are people, in fact, I believe there is, I could be misspeaking completely, but there's a colleague or friend in the community. Her name is Jenna Kay, and her husband is Scott, and they run Jenna and Scott Paranormal, or I could be construing the name or the order of the name there, but I know that she's a nurse, and I know that it's possible that she works in a home that prepares. What's I'm drawing a blank, Rob. I'm so sorry. I can think of the name. What's a hospice? Is it hospice care
Mhm.
right before patients die? And she's
Yeah.
very much into ghost box research. They've released their own technology to contribute to the paranormal field and ITC research. And I believe, briefly in talking with her, I believe that she said uh, that I don't know that they're coma patients, but at the same time, they are close to death, and she experiences things. She watches her patients experience things. And I believe it's possible she's even used the ghost box in conjunction with that, but I don't know the results. And my information may not be entirely accurate on that, but I do know that there are people that are experimenting with the ghost box or ITC in that way that have outside of the paranormal realm in terms of going to a haunted, quote unquote, haunted location.
And you can do that. You can tune into certain
Thank
frequencies
you,
if we
hospice.
can
Yes.
get down, if we can get down to that low of a frequency, because that's dipping into low frequencies. Again, like I said, the brain waves. What I have seen with the frequency counter, um, the brain waves are pulling in about, God, I want to say about 30. I think it was 38 hertz, somewhere around there.
38 hertz, or
Yeah.
wow, okay. Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty low.
Um, and then also like with EVPs, it's going to be in the 3 to 5 hertz range usually
Sure.
when you use a spectrum analyzer.
Right.
So, but I found, yeah,
Which
that those frequencies to pick up the brainwaves, it's about 38 hertz, somewhere around there.
okay. I haven't experimented with that. I don't know much about that, but that is interesting. That is very interesting.
Like the frequency that the human body puts out, I think it's like 26 hertz, somewhere around there. And that's why I'm saying, if that's the human body,
Those
and
slow
you have to,
waves.
yeah, I mean, so with us putting out, those that low of a frequency, how is an EMF detector going to pick up that frequency? It can't. It's not built to pick up that low of a frequency. 45 hertz at the lowest, 60 at the highest. So that's totally way out of the range. I mean, even from our brain waves, that's way out. So it's just weird on how people try to put those theories together when they
Right.
don't do the research on other frequencies. That's why frequencies is, when you look up haunted frequencies, and you do research on what uh the frequencies that paranormal phenomena occurs, it's way out of the range of any man-made device. It's just crazy. I mean, yes, there's certain devices that can pick it up, but it's not the devices that you'll see people carrying around in using paranormal research. And people would freak out when I would break out with a with a frequency counter or two different frequency counters, because one scans from 1 hertz all the way up to
Right.
I forget how many kilohertz, and then the other one goes from, it picks up where the other one doesn't, from the high kilohertz up to the gigahertz range. So I'm carrying around these two boxes, and people are like free with these long ass antennas, and people are like, "What the hell are you carrying?" And then when EMF detect meters are going off, and I said, "Oh, that's being set off by RF interference. I'm seeing it right here."
Right.
So I have a device that's already debunking what other people are picking up. So, um, and they used to piss people off, but anyway.
I don't know if you like to do that or it just happens on accident. I think you like to upset people.
It's really not, it's not that. I mean, I'm
I know.
just
I'm just
stating
teasing.
the facts. I mean,
Right.
I'm there to gather information. I mean,
Right.
what we're there as investigators to, whether it's to debunk, um, phenomena, or to record phenomena.
Right. No, and it's true because a lot of and the equipment that you've brought out isn't wow, I mean, I some of it that I've seen isn't even known in the paranormal community at all. I mean, some of the things I saw you bring out, I was like, wow, I saw an electrician who came to my studio where we draw power. We basically drain Los Angeles of power, like bring specialized equipment that's not seen anywhere to the studio. I saw you have, and I'm like, what are you doing with that stuff? And I learned that from you in terms of paranormal investigating and how you were applying this equipment and truly trying to measure the environment and get readings from that. And I was impressed by that in terms of when I went on investigation with you. It was actually one of my first official investigations. It was very impressive.
Yeah, the antennas that are on these devices are freaking. They're
Yeah.
like 6-foot antennas.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I could point it across the room and poke somebody
Right.
literally,
Yeah.
and I could put the antenna right next to their EMF detector from the other, from 6
Knock
feet
it out of
away,
their hands.
and then be like, "Dude, this is what you're picking up."
Right. But you can
You
also
know?
slap it out of their hands with the antenna.
Yeah, exactly, and people would get pissed off like, "What the f," "Dude,
Right.
you're a buzzkill." I was like, "No, I'm being honest."
Right. But we kind of are buzzkills, Rob, because when like if someone's doing this for fun, we show up. Well, you're not angling the antenna properly. Like we are buzzkills, Rob. We're definitely like we kill parties for sure. We kill ITC parties for sure.
I know.
Um,
It's crazy. But you know what though? You have to be a skeptic first and investigator second,
right.
because
It's true.
if you come in without a skeptical mind, you're gonna be easily influenced on a location being haunted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, it's
there's
true.
reasons why a location, just because it's haunted, doesn't mean it's being haunted by the dead or the non-living. It could just be phenomena that was, like we talked about last week,
Right.
is there was an event that happened there, and it's just a psychic scar that happened on that location. It doesn't mean that somebody's dead and they're haunting the location. It's just the energy still resides in the location.
Right. Yeah, and that's uh, history repeating itself, if you will.
Yep.
And that's again, I haven't been on investigations, but one of the studios I worked at a lot in my 20s, we would always hear little children. We'd get EVPs. I mean, this was me and all the other audio engineers. And what we realized when we researched the studio we were working at was in the 1920s or 30s, it was a preschool. It was a
Hmm.
preschool for decades. And nothing happened. No one died. Nothing tragic happened. But I actually captured a little girl say, "Where'd my daddy go?" Like the dad dropped her off at preschool, and she's like, "Well, where did he go?" Again, nothing tragic happened, but it was almost like history repeating itself, or that moment in time existing, if there is no time, existing simultaneously, and we were just able to pick it up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's truly fascinating, and I want to talk to Live Paranormal here. I know we're almost at 3 hours. Wow, Rob, we're almost at 3 hours. Live Paranormal brought something up that said their house is embedded in a quartz rock. And I've talked with you about this, Rob, but and eventually I'll release my experiment on this show. I'll talk with you guys about it. But I'm working with quartz crystals that are in clocks in a studio. And when they're baked at certain frequencies, they give off a vibration, which is meant to reduce jitter in clocks. But I'm actually reversing it to create more jitter, to make noise as a new noise source, to see if anything comes of that. But I want to talk with you because I work with, little crystals. You sound like you're in a big giant quartz crystal. So I'd be interested to hear about your experiences in that house. One of these days, I'll have to catch up with you on that.
So Wayne wants to know.
Oh, absolutely. Uh, uh, Rob, I don't mean to just jump on this, but I have a friend who captures live audio. He uses a Sound Devices audio recorder, It's a very expensive unit. It's used on location. It records very high resolution, drives all sorts of microphones. And depending on their location, this doesn't happen everywhere he goes. But because he's using very quiet preamps, very expensive headphones, very good microphones, there have been places on location in Los Angeles that maybe have known have been haunted or have a history to them. Maybe it's just, like residual energy, but they do capture things all the time. And those things are edited in post. Once you record, you don't maybe hear it live, but when you go back to the studio and they're doing audio for movies or they're working in post production, they pick up things all the time. In fact, they pick up light anomalies. They pick up evidence a lot. But because of the schedule, because of the industry and the cultural environment, you just keep moving. It's just edit it out. Let's go. It'll be somewhere else on a back reel somewhere, or a B roll, if you will. But they just keep moving forward. But it's very common. People that capture video and audio for a living do capture anomalies, and they address them as just that, anomalies. And they're just edited out constantly.
Yep.
I capture it all the time when I record. I didn't used to as much, but certain locations I record at, we capture things all the time. It just is. It's a part of the job. You just edit it out, and I look at it later in my own time.
No, that was something like what I have done. During all the times that I've investigated, I've picked up so many anomalies that, we try to reproduce them and we couldn't.
Right.
Um, I mean, as many apparitions as we have gotten on camera and things like that, it's, I, it just came, just getting so many, it just became like, it was like, oh yeah, okay, here's another one. Check
Right.
this out.
Isn't that
Uh, but it's weird on when you don't when you're trying to do other type of research, and it's really not really that we're trying to figure out the answers to what and why are things are there,
right?
and when we get those anomalies, that just backs up, the claims, but that's not the real reason why we're there.
Right. Well said. Absolutely. Live Paranormal says when you edit, some say it's fake, annoying, but who has that kind of time? It's exactly. It, it's funny, Rob, and I know grips in the industry that record video and audio. They work as cameramen or sound operators, sound technicians, and they hear these things, and it's just like, okay, whatever. Just they don't pay any mind to it. It's just a noise artifact. It's just an artifact interrupting their job or their workflow, and it's just tossed out. There's no consideration given to a lot of it, unless you're someone like me who goes, "Oh, what was that?" and you want to listen to it later or go back to it. But you'd be surprised. The industry is not only aware of these anomalies, but it's whatever. It's just an artifact. They don't go any deeper than that, unless they do it on their own time.
Okay, so and this is something like what we've talked about and what I've been teased about on this show. There's been many of times when because when I first started, I got into the field way before anything was digital. And everything was analog, everything was on film. Um if somebody had a video camera, I mean that was something huge that you would have to lug around. Nobody wanted to do that. So there was no video. There was, everything was, like I said, on film on different things. And when we would get those pictures on film, things like that, it was mind blowing. But then when digital came around and, we started capturing certain anomalies, I started capturing apparitions, started capturing apparitions that were manifesting, and you could kind of see a whole, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this thing's matrixing. Oh no, you can just look at it and be like, holy crap. And we're getting this on video. We're getting it on, and people are watching that and they're like, there's no way that can be real. It's fake. What did you do? How did you Photoshop that? How did you, modify that? Because I would post things up, and then once started getting that, there's no way that that's real. That's, something that did some CGI work. blah blah, because they knew I was into computers. They knew I knew a lot of how to, work on film, how to use editors and things like that, because that's what I did. So for a living. But yet I was like, no, this is raw footage. And it was, and then so people were just like, there's no way that that's real. So what happened was I just started archiving everything. It was like, yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Check this out. We would watch it. Cool. There it goes into the archives. And people are like, dude, why don't you post? You have so much crazy evidence. Why are you archiving it all? Because it was for personal use. I saw it, I captured it, I documented it, I archived it.
Right. And, and so much of our evidence is basically been like that for so many different reasons. But we capture it, we archive it, we have it. And I know you have a lot that a lot of people would love to see, but I also understand your reasons for archiving it and just holding on to it. I
Yeah,
get it. I get it.
it's just it was a personal experiment or experience. I documented it. I
Right.
saw it, and boom, that was part of my
Right.
my evidence that I revealed to the client or whatever, and they saw it and they were like, "Hey, thank you for documenting all of this," and they got a copy of it, and I just archived mine.
Right. No, and you know what? I mean, that's how it's been for a long time. I feel like that's been the procedure for a long time.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's sad that we've gotten to that point. And it's funny, you see, and when you see I mean, when you see footage that is put on TV, it's like it's laughable. It really is, and it's like, really, that's what they're saying that is really.
I don't want to call it anyone or any shows. It's not proper
No, no, no.
play.
I'm not
It's not
saying
play.
that either, but I'm just saying in general that
Right.
it's just funny how things have kind of, I don't know.
I know you don't want it. We're walking a fine line right now. I get it. I get it.
It's just I mean,
I get it.
it all comes around to, just wish that people would stop doing certain things and move the field forward. That's it.
Right.
Sorry, I just dropped something. I'm playing with this little whenever somebody heard said it sounded like a fork, it's just a
Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad you explained that. Okay, so it's one thing off
sorry.
the list. No, it's okay. Like modern game of telephone. Yeah. Movie night at Rob's. I will make snackies. I don't know if I want to have movie night at Rob's.
Josh has been to my house a couple of times.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just
Wayne got sick at my
yeah.
house. That was Wayne did not like my house at all.
I don't exaggerate. I don't experience a lot that other people do at typical haunted locations. I just don't. But Rob's house is strange. I will say that. It definitely feels like you're being watched. There's just something about that property or that area. I don't know what it is. So a more seasoned investigator like Rob or someone else would be able to address that more properly.
Yeah, Wayne wants to come and shoot his he wants to interview me for his new ITC documentary,
Well, come on.
and
What,
so I'm telling them to come back to my house to film.
why don't we have you on the show, Mr. Poe? That's awesome. Talk about it. I mean, I think that would be really fascinating, right?
Yeah,
Uh, Consider this an invitation to the show. We'd like to have you on to hear about it.
and if anybody hasn't seen it, they have to watch uh his documentary on Camarillo
Oh,
State
Camarillo
Hospital.
State Hospital, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
put it in a link, Wayne, and we'll share it for you.
yeah. Camarillo State Hospital. That is a location. I used to live close to there, and yeah, that is a weird place.
I went back not too long ago. Oh,
Oh,
Hotel
Hotel Camarillo. I
Camarillo.
was talking Camarillo State Hospital. Okay, never mind. Camarillo's is a haunted. That whole
No, but
area is
no,
weird.
no, no. That's what it's about. It's called Haunted Camera. It's about Camarillo State Hospital.
Yeah, that's a strange place. Well,
Oh,
Rob,
it's on Amazon. It's on. Hold on. He said it's on Amazon Prime. He's gonna look it up.
I
Hold
was going to
on.
ask you to post the link.
We're gonna post a link.
Yeah, you have to see this.
No, my house is crazy. It is crazy. There's just some dark history that happened next door. That's all. And people have passed away in my house too. A couple of people.
Yeah. Mr. Polich, yeah, to take on the song Hotel California. Absolutely. That's right. You're going to post the link?
He might.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Poe, if you can post the link, that would be great. And then we're going to, I can talk to you. Rob, I know, talks to you as well. We'll get you set up so you can come onto the show and talk about that. Talk about
Come on next week.
Yeah. And in fact, Mr. Poe will have you on. And then we are also going to continue our Ghost Box Legends series. We had someone planned tonight, a very special guest, but scheduling didn't work out. We're going to have them on. If not next time, Mr. Poe, you'll join us. We'll have them on the following week, but you'll be very impressed with who some of the people we have coming up on the show. I'm excited because as an ITC researcher and fan is not the right word, but Ghost Box researcher, I'll just leave it at that. The people we have coming up and coming on the show, you won't want to miss.
And we could talk about his antics in Linda Vista.
Oh, you have stories about Linda Vista. Yes, people will want to hear about Linda Vista Hospital. Yes. You and Rob will have some good stories about the locations. Yeah. I'm excited for this. This is going to be good.
Yeah, I mean Wayne is very skeptical also.
You know what? That's excellent because those were where the best questions come from. Those people ask the best questions. I don't mean those people. That was rude, but I mean skeptics ask good questions.
Yeah, Wayne was here when I built his skull box. I got him a little his box is really cool. It's made out of a skull, a black skull, and the eyes light up blue. It's really cool box.
Oh, that is cool.
But anyway, all right. So I guess we're going to call the show. We've been on for 3 hours.
Just you and I, Rob. I'm so sorry, you guys. Thank you.
Well, I had some technical difficulties.
Would you
I figured it out. I think it is my I found out it's the driver. Yeah, I have to use the Windows Media driver for it to work properly.
From now on, just during our podcast, randomly drop out for 5 minutes and let's see how uncomfortable I get. Because as soon as you dropped out, you could see like the white flush over my face. I'm just like, oh God.
I even rebooted my computer. I thought it would have kicked you off the show, but it.
And you didn't come back for a few minutes, and I was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? It's harder than it looks to carry a whole podcast. With you, it's like, okay, I can, we can bounce things off each other. But I was like, oh no. But thank you so much to our audience for hanging in there. I know it's a tremendously long show. If you've made it this far, thank you. I know what it takes, the time, the energy, the sacrifice to listen to us ramble about this. It means everything to us. This is why we love doing this show. So thank you so much for sticking around.
We just try to give you guys some information and talk shit. That's what it's all about.
That too. I guess that too. Thank you guys so much.
All right. So,
Mr. Poe's making us blush.
We'll see you guys on Saturday. I hope I can do my show Saturday. I should be able to do my show Saturday.
I'll be listening from work. I'll have it on the background.
I might be a little drunk, but
yeah. Anyway. What? Why is this? I don't approve of this.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go hang out with some friends. So I know that there's gonna be some drinking involved. So we'll see.
Oh no. The Saturday show is sacred. You can't don't do that.
I know, right? So anyway,
thank you, everyone.
All right, everybody. Talk to you guys soon, and thanks for tuning in.
See you next Wednesday.